Of all the great killers of history, perhaps the deadliest and most terrifying is the automobile. Nero, Attila the Hun, Bluebeard, even artillery fire, and the ultimate, the atom bomb. At least they have a purpose, a reason, a rationale. But the automobile maims and kills mindlessly, senselessly. For example...
This is old Long Jack here in the studio on a lonesome, wet, foggy night. Saying if you're on wheels, real careful tonight. It's heavy, man, heavy.
Oh, shut up, you fool.
If you just let Big Daddy help you out, only...
You can't help me, Big Daddy. I must have hit something. Somebody. Split. I got a split.
Our mystery drama, And Nothing But the Truth, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Arnold Moss. I'll be back shortly with Act 1. Was the accident we heard a few minutes ago another statistic of the road? An innocent victim, a careless driver, the victim's family broken and lost. A young man whose carelessness had blighted a bright new manhood and a promising career. Or was the driver lucky this time? Lucky in a way far beyond his hope or expectation. We are about to find out with David, the young driver, as he paces his living room floor, waiting for his father to come home.
Dad?
David. David, what are you doing up at this hour?
I didn't hear you come in. I thought you'd never get home. Where you been?
Well, now do I have to start answering to you for my whereabouts?
What? What? Oh, you mean like Mother?
Yes, like your mother.
I'm sorry, Dad.
Well, for your information, I was working, correcting term papers. It wasn't that I... David, I'm very tired.
You all right, Dad? You look like you had an attack or something.
Well, don't be silly. I said I was tired. What's wrong with you? You've been drinking.
Yes, I wish I hadn't, but I didn't.
Oh, okay, son. Take it easy. Whatever it is, we'll work it out. Well, where's your sports car? Didn't you have it out tonight?
Yes. I left it parked on the street.
Well, you better put it away. There's no sense in leaving it out in this rain.
Dad, I've got to talk to you. It's about the car.
What about the car?
I didn't know what to do. I hit the panic button. I ran.
Well, what else did you hit?
Someone. A man. I'm pretty sure. Down near the railroad. You know where the big curve comes around by the station opposite Franny's place? I think it was one of those old winos that hang around there. Dad, I swear I never saw him with all that rain and the fog.
Was there anyone else around?
I didn't see anyone. I should have stopped. But all I could think of was that I'd been drinking and the scholarship coming up, and if anything happened, it would kill Mom. And before I knew it, I was running away. I've been going crazy waiting for you to get home. I'm scared, too, but I guess I ought to go to the police.
Does your mother know about this?
No.
Okay. When did it happen?
2:00, almost on the nose.
2 this morning?
Yeah.
By the railroad, you say?
Yeah, I just came off Stratfield, and I took the corner into the Big Bend on Hills Point.
I get the picture. Okay. Now go in the kitchen and wait for me. And no matter what, don't let your mother get involved.
Where are you going?
I'm going to have a look at your car.
Well, I'll come with you.
You'll do as I say from here on in. Now, you go to the kitchen. I'll be right back.
What are you going to do?
I'm not sure yet. But well, maybe there's a way to get off the spot. Is your mother still asleep?
I guess so. She hasn't been down.
There's a dent in your front right fender. Was that there before tonight?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I Simonized the car yesterday. Does it look bad?
Well, not to... Well, it must have been a glancing blow.
You mean maybe it's going to be all right?
Maybe.
Oh, I don't think I could have hurt him too bad. And a night like tonight, who'd be hanging around?
It isn't going to be all that easy, David. They might be able to trace the car.
How?
You're missing a front right hubcap. There aren't that many Harley 584s in this town.
So I'll have to give myself up.
No. Let's figure this out. Was your mother up when you went out tonight?
I don't know if she was asleep, but she wasn't downstairs.
Well, then she didn't see what car you took.
No?
Did she see me leave? I mean, did she look out of the window or anything?
No. She was just sitting in the big chair by the fireplace, crying.
Crying?
The usual.
Well, that I was off once again to the arms of another woman,
Like that.
Well, you don't believe all that talk, do you?
Look, Dad, we've been down this road before. I'm not making any judgments.
I'm not asking you to sit in judgment on me. I asked for a simple reaction between a father and his son. I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to blow up.
I guess we're both a little shook tonight. But you ought to know by now where I stand. It's just, well, I know Mom gets a lot of screwy notions, but all the same, I'm sorry for her. She's so lost, and, well, I'm always afraid that any little thing might push her right over the edge. Like tonight. Oh, Dad, what am I going to do?
That's what we're going to figure out right now. I got a few more questions. You say the accident happened at 2 o'clock or so, right?
Just as I said, almost exactly.
Now, how do you know that?
I was listening to Long Jack, and he was just going into a last commercial before he went off the air. The disc he was spinning was just ending, and, well, when I hit the guy.
What was the record?
An oldie, easy to love.
And you hit this man just after you turned off Stratfield into Hills Point.
Yeah.
He suddenly stepped off the curb.
Like out of nowhere.
How fast were you going?
Gee, Dad,
Now, come on, don't pussyfoot with me.
Too fast. I took the corner pretty wide.
Did you skid?
Yeah, it was pretty slick from the rain.
And there was no one else around?
No.
You're sure?
Yeah, I opened the door to look out. There was no one. That's why I lost my nerve and cut out. Well, I better get down and find out.
You stay right where you are.
It's after 4. The longer I wait, the worse it will be for me.
You're not going to be involved in this at all, David.
What do you mean?
I mean, you were driving the station wagon tonight. I was the one who was driving the sports car, and I'm going to the precinct house right now to report that I hit a man and left the scene of the accident.
Dad, I can't let you do that.
Don't be a fool. I'm not on the verge of getting a full scholarship to Harvard. I haven't been drinking. I'm not a teenager with 2 strikes against him as a driver to begin with. I'm a full college professor with a distinguished record who is coming home on a foul night with visibility almost zero, dead tired, after correcting 200 term papers. I can stand the gaff, and you can't.
No, sir, Dad. I thank you and I admire you, but I hope to God I'm enough of a man not to hide behind my father's pants.
You'd better think of it as your mother's skirts. Your mother couldn't care less what happens to me, but you're a different story. You get in big trouble over this and it could kill her. Worse still, drive her over that edge we both worry about.
But, Dad,
Don't argue. This is the way it's going to be. You just let me handle it, and you keep your mouth shut no matter what happens.
I don't know what to say.
I'll tell you what you're going to say. Nothing. Nothing to anyone.
But, Mom...
Least of all to your mother.
Okay, Dad, if that's the way you want it. Oh, how can I thank you? You're some kind of a guy.
No, David. Just the most sensible way out of a bad situation. I'd better get down to the police. Don't wait up. I may be a while. It's still raining. You got the keys?
Sorry, right here. And thanks, Dad, for everything.
This will all work out for the best. I think I hear your mother moving about.
If she comes down, what do I say?
What we've agreed on is the truth. And I've gone to the precinct house to report that I'm a hit-and-run driver, right?
Right. I'll never forget what you're doing for me.
And for your mother. For all of us.
Grant, that you?
No, Mom, it's me, David.
Oh, I thought I heard your father come home a little while ago. What are you doing at the front door?
Oh,
I better come down. What's going on? I heard voices, angry voices.
That was Dad and me. Not angry. We were just discussing something.
Then where's Grant now? Yes, I heard a door slam. Did he go out again?
Yes.
Not another woman. Not two in one night.
Why don't you give him a break once? He was at the college correcting papers.
Then where's he off to now?
Mom, it's kind of damp in the hall. Let's go into the living room and sit down.
Don't tell me he's finally taken off for good with one of his bed partners.
Oh, Mother, have a heart. Why can't you see what a right guy Dad is?
Maybe I've known him too long. So what errand took him out of the house again at 4:20 in the morning?
He's gone to the local precinct to confess to a hit and run.
Yes, madam, I understand. I'll have some officers on the way immediately. Well, these are experts in the bomb squad. Oh, yes, ma'am. All the latest equipment. Thank you, ma'am. We do our best at the police department.
Full moon time again, huh, Lieutenant?
Oh, yeah, Riso. The crazies are out on the broom tonight. There was some dingaling just saw a UFO land in her backyard. How was your hit and run?
Oh, no sweat. Some old wino stumbled off the curb, got his rear end creased. They took him to St. Elizabeth's. Anything on the general bulletin?
Nah, it's small stuff. Muggy in the 2nd precinct. It's a gas station hold up in the 5th. I want to hear something new. That's the 12th. Nothing. A code 2C, the man. Some citizen reports a smell of gas in his apartment house, possible suicide. It's nothing worth our brains. What's that in your hand?
Oh, it's a hubcap. Clue from the scene of the hit and run.
Oh, let me have a look in. English make. Probably from a Harley. Or some sport car like that. Found on the scene?
About 75 yards away. No proof it had anything to do with the hit and run.
How's the victim?
Condition fair. When the ambulance picked him up, he only got struck a glancing blow.
That still don't make no never mind. The perpetrator cut out. I want him brought in.
Oh, so do I. But it may be a little rough. Even if we find the car this belongs to, it doesn't prove it was lost hitting the victim. Could have been loose and just fallen off.
So you think we don't make the guy, huh?
My educated guess is that the odds are not so high.
Yeah, Brady, what is it? You don't say. Right with you now, huh? Well, how about that? Yeah, bring him right in. Educated guess, huh?
I was wrong.
Couldn't be wronger. Guy named Williams just came to the desk and confessed to making the hit and run. He's on the way in. You and he should get on together just Andy. Guy's a college professor.
Your father hit someone with the sports car tonight? But that's impossible.
How can you say that, Mom?
Because he wasn't driving that car tonight.
How do you know? You didn't see him leave?
No, but I was awake when he drove in, and I could swear, I know he was driving the station wagon.
A father's sacrifice for his son. Surely a noble, if misguided, gesture. The question, of course, is, should a young man or anyone be encouraged to evade responsibility? And will the simple act of altruism remain just that? We'll find out shortly when Mystery Theater returns with Act 2. A precinct house in a large city, even at the best of times, is never the most prepossessing spot. In the dog hours of the morning, Dusty, dingy, tired paint peeling from the walls, half-empty coffee containers with cigarette butts floating in them. It's certainly one of the most depressing times. Or so Grant feels as he dictates his full confession.
It was only when I was putting the car away in the garage and I noticed a dent in the fender and found that one of the hubcaps was missing that I began to realize with horror that I might have hit an animal, an opossum or something. It never occurred to me that it might have been a human being. Well, I would have returned right away, but my wife, who has not been well recently, well, she was up. She was waiting for me, and I didn't want to alarm her. And so I coaxed her back to bed and to sleep, and I came here just as soon as I could.
And this was what time, Professor?
Almost exactly 2 o'clock.
And you could fix the time because you were listening to Long Jack on the car radio and he was signing off.
You like acid rock, Mr. Williams?
I beg your pardon?
You know, the big hard beat, loud enough to blow your mind?
Oh, no, I don't. Why?
Well, that's Long Jack's bag. It's most of what he plays, you know. I didn't figure you'd dig his scene.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I turned on the radio to keep me awake, not for music appreciation.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, I remember the last number he was playing just before he signed off was Easy to Love. I wouldn't call that exactly contemporary.
The main point is that you made the turn at 2 o'clock. You felt a jarring feeling, which jives with our information, right, Rizzo?
Right, Lieutenant. I see. Victim left Franny's restaurant, 518 Hills Point Road, at approximately 2 minutes to 2 a.m. Because victim was discovered by George Bates, post office employee, some 2 minutes later. He heard a car drive away, but due to adverse weather conditions, could not see it or make any identification. Victim was Dominic Capello, unemployed, 61 years old.
Well, I hope he's all right.
He's at the hospital. We don't know the extent of the injuries yet.
I feel terrible, that poor old man.
Professor Williams, let me point out something. From your story and our evidence, there is no clear-cut evidence that you did hit this man. Now, if I were you, before I went any further, I'd get a lawyer.
Oh, there's no need for a lawyer. I'm quite willing to face my responsibilities. If you'll prepare a statement for me, I'd be very glad to sign it.
All right. I'll leave you here with Patrolman Foster, who'll type up a statement. You just check it over when he's finished, and then if you still want to, you can sign. I'll be right back.
Lieutenant, see you a minute outside.
Okay. All right, Rizzo, what's biting you?
I think the guy's lying.
About what, for Pete's sake? Why would he lie?
To cover up.
Cover up who?
How do I know? His daughter, son, wife.
Why would he want to take the rap for them?
That's what'll take some digging to find out.
Oh, boy. 15 precincts in this city, 4 detective divisions, and I have to get stuck with you. You want to make a federal case out of one sneaky little hit and run where the guy comes in like a good citizen and confesses, and just for once make the job easy? What do you got to do? Go looking for trouble?
Now, Lieutenant, it isn't just the few small discrepancies. It's the whole psychology of the man.
Psychology? That's all I need. The new breed. Now, look, Rizzo, will you for once just forget the college education and get back in there and have that statement signed, sealed, and delivered? Stop making waves.
Mother, please, will you let well enough alone?
I've kept quiet about too many things for far too long, but I can't let this go. I know your father wasn't driving the sports car tonight.
Okay, so he wasn't. So you know what that means.
Oh, my darling,
You want to get me locked up?
No, of course not. But why should it come to that? You don't know yet if you really hit anyone or hurt them.
I'm not kidding myself. When I pulled away, I tried to tell myself nothing had happened. But now it's all on the table, and I know that guy got hurt. And I'm scared. I'm scared of what they could do to me.
Darling, there's nothing to be scared of in being honest, owning up. It was an accident. David, please.
Will you let me go?
I'm only trying to help you.
Oh, sure. Some help you are. I don't understand you, Mother. Look what Dad's willing to do for me, and all you want is for me to turn myself in.
I want you to be honest.
This is for laughs. Look, Dad went down there to take the blame so he could protect you as well as me.
Protect me?
Yes. He said it would kill you if anything happened to me.
Grant was worried about me?
Yes.
Don't you ever believe it.
Mom, how can you be so bitter? Look what he's done for me.
He's got to have an angle.
That's unfair. I know you and Dad have problems. I'm not going to try to make any judgments about...
Oh, but you do. You make them every day in spite of yourself. And always against me.
Mother, I've had just about as much of this as I can take.
You know, the curious thing is that I know you love me in spite of everything. Just give me a moment.
What is it?
I don't stand much chance, do I? I spend so much time upstairs with myself. Very lonely with just yourself. I'm a woman not quite able to cope. A woman with hallucinations. It's something out of Dickens. Living among cobwebs of near insanity and the ghosts of what never was.
Mother.
Look, it's time I told you. Time I try to tell somebody. I'm a prisoner with a life sentence. Because I can't stop loving. To everyone else, I'm the ghost. But the truth is that the real corruption lies rotting in the very man we both love. David, I don't want to ever see you become like him. I would rather see you. That's why I want you to take your own troubles on your own shoulders.
Mom, don't you think you ought to lie down? I mean, you're not...
It's easy, isn't it, to find a scapegoat, to make someone else responsible. Poor, mad, wasted Marion Williams, married to that intelligent, handsome man, respected by his faculty, worshipped by his students, particularly the girls. Oh, yes, particularly the girls.
Oh, Mother, for Pete's sake.
No, this time you don't stop me. I loved him so much I forgave all those early affairs. The young children invaded, cheapened. I saved him. I went to those girls. I begged them off. And after you came, the pattern continued. I began to retreat farther and farther. I had the money. That's why I could always keep him. And I couldn't stop loving him. That was the saddest part, wasn't it, David?
What?
I was the one who ruined him. Without me to cover for him, he'd have been found out long ago. So you see...
I don't know what you mean, Mom. I can't discuss what you've been talking about. But that has nothing to do with what Dad is doing at this moment. I'd been drinking. I couldn't have gone to the police. Dad can handle this. Please, leave it alone.
And let you spoil yourself just as he did. The rot spread so fast, David.
The incident was totally minor in mine till I returned home, found that there was a dent in my front fender. Well, I've read this through, Lieutenant, and there's nothing here that isn't consonant with my earlier confession.
It's a formality, Professor. I prefer to have you read it aloud before you sign the statement.
If you insist.
It's better, Professor Williams. There is much more. Go ahead.
It's quite evident that I must have been responsible for striking with my automobile one Dominic Capello, 61, at approximately 2 a.m. on the above date. This statement is a true and unsolicited confession of my responsibility and...
Excuse me, Lieutenant. Have you warned the professor again that he should have legal representation?
No, I don't need a lawyer.
I'll have to warn you, sir, that you may. The man was hit, just died in the hospital without regaining consciousness. It isn't just an accident anymore. It could be homicide.
Oh, come on, Rizzo, manslaughter. But it does change things, Professor. If you sign this, I'll have to book you. You should have a lawyer before you sign.
Well, nonsense. I want to sign. Let's not waste any more time, and then I'll call my lawyer.
All right. Detective Rizzo, will you witness this?
Yeah.
You'll have to be fingerprinted, Professor.
Whatever you say, Lieutenant.
Foster will take you to a phone first to call your lawyer about bail.
Thank you. And thank you, Detective Rizzo.
Don't mention it.
All right, now, Rizzo, don't say it.
I've got to. Something's out of kilter. I never saw a man so anxious to get arrested in my life.
He just wants to get it over with and get back to bed. Now, who doesn't?
It's wrong, Lieutenant. It's wrong. A cool, collected individual like that doesn't go around hitting panic buttons and taking a powder out of a bad situation.
Now, Joe, drop it.
lay off. Don't give me any more of the psychology. I'm just a plain flatfoot who came up through the ranks by sticking to one thing, facts. Let's give the guy a vote of thanks for coming in. My psychology is we leave it lay, huh? You got any other hunches? Save them for the ponies. Okay?
Okay.
What's on the bulletin, Reed, sir?
Oh, same old noise, nothing special. They picked up that mugger in the second, a repeater.
What's happening with Professor Williams?
Huh?
Williams, the professor. You remember the guy we spent most of the night with?
Oh, yeah. Well, he got fingerprinted and his lawyer sprung him. He's going home. Hey, look at this, Lieutenant.
What?
That code 2. See the man in the 12th? That suicide was no false alarm. There was a DOA. Only now it looks like homicide. They figure the girl was strangled before the gas was turned.
Oh, what do I care about some dame in the 12th? The 7th is my baby. Let the 12th worry about their headaches. I'm taking you off.
Marion, for the last time, you stay out of this or I'll...
You'll what, Grant? Kill me? You did that a long time ago. The only reason I clung to any shred of life was because of Dave.
And a fine little mama's boy you made out of him. The moment my back is turned, he runs to you, he blurts out the whole thing.
Oh, no, he didn't. I figured out what happened myself. I saw you drive away in the station wagon.
Well, why can't you mind your own business?
Because I don't trust you. And I want David to be a man and stand on his own feet.
Will you get something through that bird brain of yours? The man who was hit is David had been drinking. You won't be emancipating your son. You'll be burying him in jail. Is that what you want?
You're hurting me, Grant.
Is that what you want? Or will you keep your mouth shut and allow me to do something for my own son?
Please, let me go.
Not until I get your promise to leave things as they are.
I don't want David to go to jail.
All right, then. I can trust you.
Yes. I only wish I trusted you. You've never done one unselfish thing in your life, Grant. I only wish I knew what it is you expect to gain this time.
A torturing dilemma for a mother and a father. Is the father right to protect his son, or the mother to feel it would be better for her son to take his medicine? So many other questions pose themselves. Questions which will be answered when Mystery Theater returns shortly with Act 3. Those questions I mentioned. Of course, Marion Williams would feel herself hurt by her husband's interest in other women. Or is that all in her mind, a figment fantasized by her obvious, shaky mental stability? But then, there's also the doubt of Detective Sergeant Rizzo. Let's follow him for a moment.
Yes?
Is Professor Williams at home?
No, he has classes this morning at the university.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Excuse me, I'm Detective Rizzo. This is my shield. I wonder if I could talk to Mrs. Williams for a moment?
I'm sorry, but my mother, she's still asleep. She's kind of an invalid.
Oh, well, and I wouldn't think of disturbing her. You're Professor Williams' son, huh?
Yes.
Well, then how about you take the chain off the door and I step in and ask you a couple of questions?
Have you got a warrant?
Have a warrant? Now, what would I want a warrant for? Look, don't let me being a cop scare you.
Oh, I'm not scared.
You always keep a chain on when you open the front door?
No, look, I'm sorry. You're wasting your time. My father told me not to answer any questions.
Oh, then you know about the accident last night, huh?
Yes, but I'm sorry. I've got to close the door.
You drive, kid?
Sir, your foot's in the way.
Oh, yeah. So it is. Anyway, I figure you drive since you got a license. I looked it up in the bureau.
Would you move your foot, please?
Hold it just a minute. Here's your newspaper, huh? You might want to read about the accident. Page 4. Check out the details.
Thanks for the paper.
Sure. Here.
Will you let it go, please?
You, were not driving yourself last night, were you?
I'll take the paper.
Yeah. And now I know my hunch is right.
Come on. Where are you?
Hello?
David, where were you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just bringing down Mother's lunch tray.
But you never answer the phone. Any mail, any phone calls?
Just a couple of ads. No phone call. Oh, there was, we had a visitor.
Who?
A Detective Rizzo.
What did he want?
He said he wanted to talk to you. Then when I said you weren't home, he wanted to talk to Mom.
Well, you didn't let him.
No. She was asleep, so... He said he wanted to ask me some questions.
Good Lord.
It's all right. I didn't let him in, and I didn't tell him anything.
Well, I hope you didn't. He had no right, no right to... David, you're sure you didn't...
No, I didn't say anything, but I'm scared. I think he knows. I think he's guessed that
Now, listen to me, David. I don't care what he knows or what he suspects. He can't prove anything if we just stick to our story. Now, you get this straight, David. I'll kill you if you let me down. No, I didn't mean that. I'm just thinking about you. I don't want your life spoiled before it begins. Now, you just remember, a man has been killed. The real truth comes out, you're in trouble. Bad trouble.
I know.
Just so you remember, both you and your mother.
Okay, but supposing that detective turns up again...
He won't. You just leave that to me. Just leave everything to me.
I will. And don't think I'm not grateful. Oh, I don't know how I can ever pay you back.
You just sit tight and stick to our story. That's all the payment I need.
I quite understand, Professor. Detective Rizzo exceeded his orders. I promise you he won't bother your family again.
I'm sorry if I lost my temper, Lieutenant.
I don't blame you, sir. You'd feel better if you could get a load of how I'm going to lose mine. Get that note, Professor. Detective Rizzo check in yet? All right, tell him to lug his rear end here on the double. I'd have bust him right down a patrolman.
You, looking for me, Lieutenant?
Yeah, come on in and close the door.
Jarvis on the desk tells me the Williams guy was on the phone having a fit.
Didn't I tell you to stop making waves?
Well, yes,
Did
Lieutenant,
I tell you the Williams case was closed?
It can't be closed as long as there's a charge.
That's up to the judge. Now, we've done our part. We have a statement and a confession. That's all we're supposed to provide.
Uh-huh. A phony confession.
What does that mean?
Now, look. That professor has a kid. Around 17, 18, huh? I talked to him today. I'll lay you dollars to donuts. He was the one driving the car when that accident...
You have any proof of that?
No, but give me an hour with that kid and I'll crack this case.
Detective Rizzo. Strong-arm methods from a member of the new breed? I thought today's young cop was exchanging the third degree for a college degree.
You know I didn't mean anything like that. If you just give me a chance to get to the bottom...
Why would a respected college professor, a guy as prominent in this town as he is, why would he risk his reputation to cover up something his son did?
I don't know.
I mean, this guy's a teacher. The last thing in the world he'd do is let his son run out on a responsibility.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Psychologically
psychologically. Now, let's not get tangled up with that bull again, huh? We have a confession, Detective Rizzo.
Lieutenant, give me a break. I got the strongest hunch.
It isn't any stronger than mine. And mine is, if you don't let this lay like I told you, you're going to be back in your boondockers walking a beat as far uptown as these city limits stretch. Okay, Detective Second Grade, is this case closed?
Or like you say, the case is closed.
Study, Mom. You all right?
I just want to talk a minute. What are you doing?
Just catching up on some homework.
David, that man, that detective you said came here, are you sure all he asked you about was the accident?
Look, Mom. I I promised Dad I wasn't going to talk about it anymore. So did you. It's a closed book.
We're going to have to open it again. Did he ask you about anything else than the accident?
No, but...
Look, David, you have got to go to the police and tell them the truth.
Now, I promised Dad...
David, don't make me go.
You promised him, too.
You don't understand. Everything's changed. He has to be stopped. There must be some justice.
Mom, why don't you go upstairs?
Look, don't treat me like an invalid, or worse, a half-wit. Have you read the newspaper that you brought up to me today?
No.
Do you know a girl named Susan Rowland?
Susan? Yeah, kind of. I mean, she was a class ahead of me at school. I guess I rapped with her here and there, but we never dated or anything like that.
That her picture?
Yes. Front page. What happened?
Read the story and find out. Carefully. Then you'll know why your father is so anxious to keep you quiet. David, you're going to find out why the truth has to be told.
Lieutenant Klamath here. How's everything with the tough, John?
You know how it goes with lieutenants in the police department, from bad to worse. A little favor, George.
Name it, you got it.
You see the DOA we had on the bulletin? Possible suicide, now definitely homicide.
The picture in the morning paper?
Yeah, that's the one. Susan Rowland, 19 years old, college student. We're running a routine check on all our acquaintances.
You got a make on anyone?
No. Fingerprints all over the place, but not even a warm lead.
Uh-huh. What can I do?
Well, I'm running down blind alleys. Like in her address book is the name of a guy, Grant Williams, domiciled your precinct. She seemed to have been in one of his classes at the university. Could you spare a man to check it out?
John, I don't even have to. I'll close one lead for you. What time did your little student get strangled?
Well, Emmy puts it at around 2 o'clock. At 1:55, she called her mother to say she was pregnant, and the guy who did it was with her. She started to give his name. The connection was broken. At 2:15, a prowl car responded to a code 2, suspicion of suicide by gas. They broke in, turned off the gas, but the girl had already been 10 or 15 minutes. So, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, eh?
Yeah.
Well, that lets out Grant Williams. 2 o'clock, our side of town, 45 minutes away. He was involved in a traffic accident. He's already booked.
One down, how many to go? Thanks, George. Sorry to bother you.
How long ago did he leave?
Too late for you to stop him.
Oh, I ought to kill you for this.
Like you did that poor little girl.
No, I didn't mean to. The little idiot refused to have an abortion. She wanted me to marry her. Marry her, for heaven's sake.
Oh, and divorce your meal ticket.
Marion, please help me.
No, not anymore. Anyway, I couldn't even if I wanted to.
But David, maybe I can still stop David.
If you could, you'd still have to stop me.
And everything my father testified to in his statement was true, except that it was me who was driving the car, not my father. I hit that man, panicked, and drove off.
Well, don't look at me, Lieutenant. I have nothing to say.
You wouldn't have to, Rizzo. I know the boy's telling the truth. Yeah, you were right all along. I had a phone call about a half an hour.
I demand to see my son.
It's all right, Sergeant. Let him in. What is it, Professor Williams?
David, I don't want you to say one word until I've talked to you and we can get legal advice.
It's too late, Dad. I've said everything I have to say.
You don't know what you're doing.
The first time in my life, I do. I'm taking care of myself. Oh, how could you do it, Dad, to a nice kid like Susan?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can clear that up, Professor. We're booking you for the murder of Susan Rowland.
Oh, you can't. I have an alibi.
Correction. You had an alibi.
But I'm not guilty. And you can't prove it.
We will. With your help.
What do you mean?
It's ironic, isn't it? If you hadn't walked in here and made a false confession, we might never have had your fingerprints. That's what's going to nail you. You provided us with a whole set to match up. You were just a little too clever. You managed to hang yourself. All right, take him out and book him, Jarvis.
Dad,
Let him go, kid, huh? Let him go. There's nothing you can do for him. Now you go on with Foster. Let him type up your statement, huh?
What's going to happen to him?
He'll be found guilty, as he ought to.
And me?
You're taking a beating already. It's an accident. Won't be too tough. And things should be looking up from now on for both you and your mother. Go on, kid.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Well, I guess I ought to start to eat my hat, Rizzo, huh? But I'd rather just say I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Me too, Lieutenant. This is one time I wish I could just have been wrong.
When you're a cop as long as I've been, there'll be a lot more. I wish I could say get used to it. Come on. Let's try the squad room coffee.
All right.
Bad as it is, it's better than the taste I got in my mouth right now.
I'll be back shortly with a final thought. So Marion's intuition was right, along with Sergeant Rizzo, and David made the first long stride towards being a man. Something else I'd like to say about that. Not every story must have a moral, but I believe this one has. Not that crime doesn't pay, that's obvious, but that the acceptance of responsibility is a cornerstone of life. It is written, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Our cast included Arnold Moss, Ralph Bell, Clarissa Blackburn, William Redfield, and Christopher Tabori. Associate Director, Marlon Swing. This is Hyman Brown, Producer-Director, inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, then, pleasant dreams.
From the Mutual Studios in Washington, I'm Fulton Lewis, and that's the top of the news as it looks from here.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the sound of suspense. Welcome to the fear you can hear. But mostly, welcome to the world of terrifying imagination. The story you're about to hear is a love story. But a love story which begins at the point where many love stories end. It begins after the wedding march has been played, after the vows of love and fidelity exchanged. It begins on the honeymoon in a strange and terrifying fashion.
Don't come near me. Stay away from me, Dad.
Susan, are you out of your head?
I saw her picture. Do you hear me? I found her picture on our honeymoon.
Our mystery drama, Deadly Honeymoon, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Henry Slessor and stars Betsy von Furstenberg and Michael Wager. It is sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser, and by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal. I'll return shortly with Act 1.
There's nothing wrong with drinking Budweiser sip by sip, is there? Well, the brewers of Budweiser think there's a better way. Sipping's fine if you're drinking wine. But Bud is the king of beers, a hearty drink. Look, rinse a 10 or 12-ounce glass with cold water. Then open a can or bottle of Bud and pour it right down the middle so it kicks up a good head of foam. Now, take a big drink and then swallow big. No sips. That's how it should be done. More taste, more beer drinking enjoyment. Thanks to exclusive Beechwood aging, Budweiser has a smoothness that lets it go down especially easy. Sure, it's an expensive way to brew beer, but brewing beer right does make a difference. That's why, when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
This is WOR New York, your station for Mystery Theater.
Now, ShopRite does the can, selling ShopRite brand of vegetables and cans. For quality that you can trust, for tasty corn, asparagus, for peas and beans, and gourmet scenes, for beef that beat all other treats. The only vegetables that can compare at all with ShopRite brand of vegetables you feed yourself instead of picking off our shelf. Now's the time to shop at ShopRite Can Blast. Now's the time to stock up while the values last.
Stock up on ShopRite soda. 12-ounce cans for 79 cents.
Potatoes that will make the meal, and carrots that have big appeal. A succotash that makes a splash. Spinach that won't finish last. Now's the time to ask yourself, so why pay more? Now's the time to shop right now at ShopRite stores.
Our story begins 36,000 feet in the air on a flight which departed from New York's Kennedy Airport and in another hour will be touching down at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. There are almost 100 passengers on this flight, but an observant stewardess is giving special attention to that handsome couple in seats 18A and 18B. Perhaps it's because all honeymooners have a special radiance.
Are you sure you wouldn't like some more coffee? Oh, no, thanks. Not for me.
I wouldn't mind a cup.
Here you are.
Thanks.
Just ring if you need anything else.
You'd think we were the only people on this flight.
As far as I'm concerned, we are. Oh, Dan, I feel absolutely drunk with happiness. Is that a funny word for the way I feel?
No. It's a great word, Susan.
I was flying hours before we got on the plane. Oh, what time did you say we land in Chicago?
About 2:30.
Is it far from the airport to the hotel?
Oh, actually, it's only about a half an hour from O'Hare to downtown. About 16 miles.
Still, I don't think we'll have time to make Evanston today, do you?
Well, it might be better to go in the morning. You can call your aunt from the hotel.
Dan, you sure you don't mind going to Evanston? I mean, I just couldn't possibly be a few miles away and not see Aunt Clara. Besides, I want to show off my new husband to somebody, and she's all the family I have.
Was she your mother's sister?
No, my father's. She came east when my parents were killed in that crash. Stayed with me for a month or so. That was about the most that either one of us could stand.
She sounds like a holy terror.
Oh, no, she's just crotchety, that's all. But she'll only be more crotchety if she learns that I passed through Chicago and didn't even stop by. Well, and what kind of work are you in, Mr. Carey?
Well, right now, we like to say we're management consultants, Mrs. Rowland. But we also do quite a bit of executive recruitment.
I don't understand a word of that. Dan helps corporations find the right people for important jobs, Aunt Clara. His firm is the biggest in the field. Isn't it, Dan?
Well, it's always hard to measure business like ours.
But it has offices everywhere, doesn't it?
In most of the major cities, yes.
And now Dan is going to take over the branch in San Francisco. He's going to manage the entire thing. Is that some kind of a promotion? Oh, of course it is. I asked the gentleman, Susan. Speak when you're spoken to. Oh, sorry.
Yes, Mrs. Rowland, it is a promotion. Truth is, it's a job that everyone in my office has been after.
Oh, it's just worked out so beautifully for us. I mean Dan having to move to San Francisco. We're sort of combining a business trip with a cross-country honeymoon.
And where do you go from here?
Well, we're planning to stay 2 days in Chicago, and then we're going to Dallas.
We're going to cross the Rio Grande into Mexico. I know a great little hotel in Monterey.
Then we're going to Las Vegas.
To gamble, I suppose?
Well, it's no fun going to Las Vegas if you don't gamble a little.
Your father never gambled for so much as a dime, Susan. That wasn't the way he made his fortune.
Well, I promised not to bankrupt the family, Aunt Clara. Anyway, we're just staying in Las Vegas overnight, and then going to Los Angeles.
3 days later, I report to work.
Thoroughly exhausted, of course.
Well, that's your idea of a honeymoon. I hope you enjoy it. Susan, I suppose lunch is almost ready. You want to help me bring it out?
Oh, yes, of course.
Kitchen's this way in case you've forgotten.
The truth is, I have.
I'm glad to be able to talk to you alone for a minute, Susan.
Did you like Dan, Aunt Clara? Isn't he good looking?
Older than you, isn't he?
What difference does that make?
How long did you know him?
Oh, we met at a party at the Williamsons. Do you remember my friend, Tracy Williamson?
Didn't ask you where you met. I'm asking you when.
Well, it was about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks? Oh, for the love of heaven, Susan.
Aunt Clara, the time you know somebody isn't always the most important thing.
He's practically a stranger. How can you be sure of anything about a man you've known for 3 weeks?
From the time we met, I saw Dan every single day.
Susan, when a girl is all alone in the world, when she has independent means of her own...
Please, Addie, don't start in about Dan being a fortune hunter. I don't have that much money, and it's all in trust anyway. And I assure you, Dan earns enough income to take care of us both very well.
Well, I'm sorry, Susan. I know I don't have any control over what you do. You're too old for that. But I've seen something of the world, too, you know. And the most important lesson I've ever learned is never trust a stranger.
Oh, Aunt Clara, that's ridiculous. Now, can we bring out the lunch?
I don't know. I just have the feeling that Chicago wasn't all you expected it to be.
Well, we weren't there very long, Dan. And don't forget, we spent half the time with your business associates.
Oh, honey, I am sorry about that. I suppose I never should have called Bill Kincaid to say we're in town. Should have known he'd insist on getting together.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. I just didn't know what he was talking about half the time. All those office politics.
Yes. Well, Bill loves to gossip. But you can see what I mean about the San Francisco job. Everybody in the company wanted it. They'll never get over resenting me for being picked. But I am sorry if you were bored.
It's all right, Dan, really. After all, I inflicted Aunt Clara on you.
She was okay.
Well, I know you didn't find her very friendly.
Well, why should she be? I think she's a very protective type. Anybody you married would get her jaundiced eye.
Yes, I suppose that's true enough. Dan, how long did you know Terry Williamson?
Who?
Terry, my ex-roommate. We met each other at her house. Or have you forgotten that already?
Tell you the truth, darling, I didn't know whose house I was at that night.
Oh, so Terry wasn't the one who invited you?
No. It was a man named Bob Chambers, one of the executive types. I got placed at General Utilities. Don't ask me who invited him, because I don't know.
I see. So it was all sort of roundabout.
What's the difference? Still turned out to be the best party I ever attended.
Yeah.
Hey, something the matter?
Oh, no, of course not. Nothing at all. Dan, where did you say we were staying in Dallas?
It's a little hotel called the Lazy Sea. It's kind of rustic, but I think you'll like it. Besides, we'll only be there one night. We'll rent a car in the morning and drive down to Monterey.
You really know all the offbeat places, don't you?
Well, when you travel around enough, I guess you begin looking for them.
You haven't done that much traveling on the job, have you?
Huh? Well, no, not that much. Say, do you know the name of the airport in Dallas?
I forget.
It's called Love Field. Isn't that a great name for honeymooners?
Yes.
Hi, Susan.
Oh, there you are. I was starting to worry.
No, I had a little trouble with the phone lines back to New York, but I got through okay.
Everything all right?
Yeah, sure, everything's fine. Hey, You look a little strange, though.
Oh, no, I'm all right. I had a drink while I was waiting for you.
Say, you better watch that tequila. It sneaks up on you like a bandito.
Actually, something sort of funny happened.
What do you mean?
Dan, when we were in Chicago in that restaurant, I forget the name of it.
The place we went to with Bill?
Yes, when you and your friend were talking about all the office politics back in New York, I saw this man looking at us.
What man?
Well, he was at the bar. I'm not even sure why I noticed him. He was wearing this plaid raincoat. I remember wondering if it had started to rain.
I guess you were just bored with all our talk.
Anyway, I saw him turn to look at us.
Probably to look at you. Can't blame him for that.
The funny thing is, as soon as you turned around, he got up very quickly and left.
Susan, I don't remember seeing anyone in a plaid raincoat. And I'm afraid I don't see anything unusual about it.
Well, I guess I didn't either. I probably wouldn't have given it another thought, but I think I saw that same man here again today.
In Monterey? Oh, you're kidding.
But I can't swear it was him. I didn't get a good look at his face the first time. All I really noticed was the coat.
And you saw the coat again? Is that it?
Yes. He was carrying it over his arm.
Oh, darling. You know the story about the airport truck?
Airport truck? No.
Well, this guy on a plane looks out the window and sees one of those little red airport trucks. You know, fueling the plane, bringing food aboard, something like that. Anyway, the plane takes off from New York and lands in Chicago. Another little red truck comes out to meet it. The guy next to him says, "Hey, we made good time, didn't we?" And he says, "Yeah, but that little red truck really made time." Well, I can see that I didn't marry a great audience.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. It's just, it bothered me a little.
Oh, forget it. And speaking of airports, next up, the City of Angels.
Let's see. I wonder if they have this week's digest. Oh, I see it.
Excuse me.
Yes?
You're Mrs. Daniel Carey, aren't you?
Why, yes, I am. Do I know you?
No, Mrs. Carey, but I know you. Saw your husband leaving the hotel about half an hour ago. Were you planning on meeting him?
Wait a minute. I've seen you before.
Have you?
You're the man with the coat, the plaid raincoat.
Well, you happen to be right. I do own a plaid raincoat, but with this nice sunny weather...
Excuse me.
Look, Mrs. Carey, I know it seems as if I'm following.
Yes, it does.
Well, okay, it's true. But I've had a reason.
Such as?
Could we talk about it someplace? There's a coffee shop in the hotel.
I'm sorry. I don't even know who you are.
Maybe it would help if I introduced myself. My name is Harrington. Lieutenant Gale Harrington, attached to New York City Police Department.
Police?
That's right, Mrs. Carey. So you see, what I have to discuss with you is police business.
But what have I done?
It's nothing you've done. It concerns your husband and what he might do.
It looks like Dan and Susan Carey's honeymoon is in for a surprise. Or perhaps more than one. Maybe Susan will soon wonder if her Aunt Clara wasn't right about a number of things, including her cynical advice about trusting no strangers. We'll find out about the new stranger in Susan's life when I return shortly with Act 2.
And now another tale of the ball and chain. At Kellogg's Special K
Presents Last Tango in Pittsburgh.
There I was at Raoul's All Right Tango Lounge.
My little orchid, will you tango with me?
It was Raoul.
You're a splendid dancer. But what was that?
I was what?
That sound effect.
Oh, I'm a few pounds overweight, and this ball and chain points out how my extra weight can get in the way.
I'm pointing you back to your chair.
However, with the
decided to lose that extra weight. She exercised and ate smart at every meal, starting with a Special K breakfast. A bowl of Special K, skim milk, tomato juice, and coffee. It's less than 240 calories, 99% fat-free, and 100% delicious. After a while, she was rid of the ball and chain and back at Raoul's.
Darling, you're looking fantastic.
What a happy ending.
What ending? We're just getting started.
Raoul, get lost.
Your happy ending could begin with the Kellogg's Special K breakfast.
And that's another tale of the ball and chain.
This is WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
No matter what you're saving for, that's what Suburban Savings for Suburban.
Suburban Savings offers you a regular savings account with flexibility. You can add any amount to your account whenever you wish. Withdraw whenever you want. Suburban Savings pays a 5.25% annual interest rate on regular savings paid quarterly, which earns an annual effective yield of 5.47%. Interest is compounded continuously from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, as long as $50 is maintained in the account to the end of the quarter. Come into Suburban Savings and open an account with flexibility. Our regular savings account in New Jersey at Bayonne, Edgewater, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Hackettstown, Morris Plains, Nutley, Paramus, and Sparta.
In the pleasant, cheerful atmosphere of a coffee shop in a large Los Angeles hotel, newlywed Susan Carey finds herself facing a man she has never seen before. A man whose solemn eyes look at her over a steaming cup of coffee and seem to warn her of nightmares to come. But so far, Lieutenant Gail Harrington of the New York Police Department is merely asking questions.
How long have you been married now?
Only about 10 days.
Was it a long engagement? Did you know your husband for some time before?
No, not very long.
Well, could you be more specific? How long ago did you meet him? And where?
Well, it's a month now. Just about that.
A month? Then you really don't know much about him, do you?
Oh, you and Aunt Clara.
Beg pardon?
Lieutenant, will you please tell me what this is about? Has my husband committed some crime? Is that what you're implying?
Oh, I didn't say that, Mrs. Carey. But believe me, it would be helpful to both of us if you could just tell me a little bit about the circumstances.
You know, I don't see why this has to be so one-sided.
Now, please bear with me.
All right. I met Dan at a party at a friend's house about a month ago. We talked a lot. We liked each other. We started dating. I saw him every single day.
What business did he tell you was in?
You make it sound as if he lied to me.
No, I didn't mean to do that.
He's a management consultant. I know he is. He's just gotten a very important job in San Francisco, head of the entire office. We're going there tomorrow.
So that was the purpose of the trip?
Yes.
But since you've been married 10 days, I gather it's a honeymoon as well.
Well, naturally it is.
Yes, naturally.
Lieutenant.
Miss Carey, do you know if your husband was ever married before?
Married? No.
Are you really certain? It's police business.
Tell me that Dan's a bigamist or something?
No, Mrs. Carey, certainly not that.
Then what is it?
I've got to tell you, but you have to understand one thing. Now, I am not assigned to this case anymore. My interest is strictly unofficial. I may be completely mistaken, but you're the only one who can prove it one way or another.
Prove what?
About whether your husband ever called himself Don Crawford. And once, 4 years ago, David Chase. See? All the same initials, like Dan Carey.
You are saying he's a criminal.
Not just a criminal, Mrs. Carey. A wife killer.
You're crazy.
I hope so. Believe me, I do. Let me start at the beginning. If you still think I'm crazy by the time I'm finished, I'll be happy to buy you that coffee and go on my way. But if you think I'm not, if you have any doubts, then I want you to tell me so and let me help you.
All right. Go on.
I know you're wrong, but go on.
I first heard of Dawn Crawford back in 1965 when I was attached to the homicide detail in Los Angeles PD. Mrs. Crawford was the former Edith Burbank. She was the youngest daughter of a wealthy family in Baltimore. Only when I saw her, she was never going to enjoy her money anymore. Her throat had been cut by one of those, quote, mysterious intruders, unquote, that the papers like to write about. Her husband, Don, was broken-hearted, naturally. They'd only been married 4 weeks. But her death also made him some money. Not a fortune, really. There was a mix-up about her will, and he ended up with nothing but a handsome payoff from the family. Mrs. Carey, you okay?
I can't believe I'm sitting here listening to this.
I won't be long, I promise. Anyway, I was assigned to the Crawford case, and I didn't exactly cover myself with glory.
You mean you never found the mysterious intruder?
That's right.
So naturally, you decided that maybe there wasn't any.
Let me go on, Mrs. Carey, okay?
Yes, go on.
Anyway, I ran into a similar case about 4 years ago. The murder of a young bride, fresh from her honeymoon. A broken-hearted groom named David Chase. I thought Chase and Crawford were one and the same man. But I couldn't convince the district attorney of the resemblance. But I am still convinced, Mrs. Carey.
And you think Dan is the same person?
Oh, he's changed again, of course. His hair is lighter than Chase's. He's thinner and paler. But there's something about the face I can't forget.
And even if it's true, you still have no proof. Is that it? You couldn't solve your case, so you're holding on to your first solution.
Wait, Mrs. Carey. Let me tell you why I was so sure that Crawford and Chase were the same man. It was because of the honeymoon.
What?
It's my theory that their honeymoons were identical. A compulsive honeymoon, you might say.
That is ridiculous.
Criminals are like that. Creatures of habit, most of them. Afraid to change a pattern, maybe for fear that their luck will change with it.
What do you mean by it?
I stumbled on the coincidence accidentally. But as far as I could trace it, Don Crawford and David Chase took their brides to the same places. They did the same things. And I knew that if I ever saw that pattern duplicated, I would have my killer. I hope I'm wrong, Mrs. Carey. But you are the only one who can tell me. And my first question is this. Was your first stop Chicago?
Yes. Yes, of course it was. And you knew that. That's where we first saw you, in Chicago, in that restaurant.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
You can't possibly make something out of that. Dan wanted to see people in the Chicago office, and I thought it would be nice to visit my aunt in Evanston. She's my family.
Was your next stop after Chicago in Texas?
Yes. We went to Dallas. Dallas is a wonderful place to visit, Lieutenant. I don't see anything so peculiar about that.
Both Chase and Crawford went to Dallas. They chose offbeat hotels. I guess they didn't care to be seen very much. Where did you stay in Dallas?
It was a perfectly nice hotel. I don't think you could describe it as offbeat.
All right. And then the next stop would be Monterey.
You knew we were in Monterey because that's where I saw you the second time.
By that time, Mrs. Carey, I'd made up my mind to follow you.
Are you saying that these supposed wife killers you're talking about also went to Monterey?
Yes, they did. And from Monterey to Las Vegas.
Well, then you're wrong, Lieutenant. You're completely wrong.
You mean you didn't go to Vegas?
No. So there goes your famous theory, doesn't it?
Well, I admit I'm
We changed our mind about Vegas. We decided that we might be too tempted to gamble away all the money we had for the trip.
Ah, so you did have it on the schedule.
Well, yes. Yes, we did, but we didn't go.
You really think that changes the pattern? The fact that you didn't go?
Oh, please, I can't stand any more of this. I don't want to hear any more of it.
Mrs. Carey, Edith Burbank was killed in Los Angeles, in her hotel room. This hotel.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving right now.
Mrs. Carey, wait.
You're wrong. You've got Dan mixed up with someone else.
Let me finish, please. Just one more moment.
Please, no, please let me go.
Well, there you are.
Oh. I didn't realize that you were back already.
Yeah, I told you I wouldn't be gone more than half an hour. I thought you'd be in the room.
I went downstairs to get a magazine.
Didn't they have any?
Well, I guess I forgot to buy one. I got to looking in the windows of the dress shops, and I forgot my original purpose completely.
Susan, are you okay?
Of course. Why do you ask?
I don't know. You've got that funny look in your eyes again.
Have I?
Doesn't matter. They're still the two most beautiful eyes in the world. Hey, what is this? Don't tell me the honeymoon's over so soon.
Why do you say that?
That was like kissing a snowman.
I guess I just don't feel like myself today. I think maybe, all this traveling has worn me down a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we don't have much further to go. Just one more plane trip to San Francisco.
Yes.
Look, maybe you'd rather not go out tonight. Maybe you ought to stay in, order some dinner in the room. I don't mind.
But you wanted to go to that restaurant, the one you told me about. You've been looking forward to it.
The landmark? Yeah. Well, I did want to try the place. It was supposed to be really spectacular.
But you've never eaten there before.
Well, no, how could I? I've never been in L.A. before.
I was thinking today that, well, you seemed to know the city so well when we drove around. You didn't seem to have the slightest trouble.
The streets are very well marked in this town. It's really a pleasure to drive here. Look, you know what I think? I think you ought to take a nap before dinner.
Yes. I was thinking of lying down, but I don't think I can sleep.
Okay, then. Just read your magazine. Wait a minute, you haven't got one. I'll take care of that.
Where are you going?
Going to get my bride something to read. How about a nice magazine about cooking? You know, I never did ask you if you can cook.
Just get me a news magazine of some kind, all right?
Uh-huh, the brainy type. I should have known. See you in 10 minutes. I'll take the key so you won't have to get up.
Yes. All right. Oh, dear God. It can't be true. There just can't be any truth to what that man said. He's made a mistake. Terrible mistake. Down his luggage. His initials, D.C. Oh, but anyone could have those initials. Anyone. I wonder if it's open. Oh, for heaven's sake, what am I doing? Searching my husband's luggage like some kind of hotel thief. No, I won't do it. I won't. I'm not going to believe any of it. I won't. Who's that? Hello?
Mrs. Carey, it's Gail Harrington.
Leave me alone. Stop bothering me.
You shouldn't have run off like that, Mrs. Carey. You didn't give me a chance to finish what I was saying.
I told you, I don't want to hear any more. It isn't true. You've made a mistake, Lieutenant.
Your husband is at the newsstand right now, Mrs. Carey. I can see him from where I'm standing at the house phones. And the more I look at him, the more sure I am that I'm right.
No, you're wrong.
I want you to hear the rest of the story about Crawford and David Chase and what they did on their honeymoon. Maybe what I told you before didn't convince you, but if you heard a few more things...
I'm going to hang up, Lieutenant, right now.
I wanted you to know where Don Crawford took his wife the night she was murdered in a room. He took her to a restaurant called The Landmark. You ever hear of it? Mrs. Carey? Hey, are you listening?
No. No, I'm not listening. I won't listen.
And so Susan Carey seems to have a date at the Landmark restaurant in Los Angeles with her loving husband, Dan. If she keeps the date, something tells me that she's not going to do their cuisine very much justice, because one needs peace of mind to enjoy good food. Fear affects the salivary glands, and terror ruins the taste buds. I'll be back shortly with Act 3.
I'm Hy Brown, producer of Radio Mystery Theater, and I'm most enthusiastic about this new adventure in modern radio. Here's what listeners are telling us. Your program was absolutely great. Don't oil the door. Or again, you've got yourself a winning show. We'd like your reactions, too. Right now, we're in the last week of our drawing for 50 prizes a week. 2 AM/FM stereo phonos, 2 travel clock radios, and 46 anthologies of modern suspense. Just mail your name and address, and you're eligible, to Mystery Theater, Box 50, Radio City Station, New York, 10019. That's Box 50, Radio City Station, New York, 10019. Entries must be postmarked no later than Saturday, January 26. Offer good everywhere unless locally prohibited.
This is WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
An invitation. This is Peter Roberts. Join us Sunday morning, 8:15 to 10 here on WOR for Rambling with Roberts. 2 hours of music, specially selected for Sunday morning listening pleasure, along with bits of weather information, news headlines, bits of trivia such as the fact that a man from Onowa, Iowa, received a patent for what he called Eskimo pie, which was ice cream coated with chocolate. It all happened in 1922. It may not seem like very much in the way of history, but it does take place, these little bits of trivia and information, on Rambling with Roberts. So, of a Sunday morning, make a note. 8:15 to 10, right here at 710 on your dial, come Rambling with Roberts. You don't have to give us an RSVP. Just be on hand. Thank you.
Well, what have we here? A quiet meal for two at the Landmark restaurant? No. We seem to be in a hotel room. The same room in which we last saw our honeymooning couple, Susan and Dan Carey. Obviously, there's been a change of plan. Room service has provided the meal for the two lovers this evening. Can it be that Susan Carey has decided that if there is a pattern, it must be broken?
Have some more wine, honey?
No. I really don't think I want any.
Hey, come on. You know what this bottle cost?
You shouldn't have been so extravagant.
Uh-oh. That sounds more like a wife than a bride.
Well, $18 is an awful lot for a wine, Dan. Especially when I really can't drink that much of it.
I just wanted to make up... Well, never mind.
You mean for not taking me to the Landmark?
No, it doesn't really matter. I told you, it's fun to eat in the room. It's very elegant.
I'm sure you were disappointed at it.
No, I really wasn't. Look, we're not going to be very far from Los Angeles. We'll probably fly down from San Francisco a few times a year.
There are dozens of wonderful restaurants in San Francisco, too, aren't there?
So they tell me. I'll ask the guys at the office for recommendations.
I think this food is quite good, don't you?
Yeah, sure. It's fine. Tastes even better with the wine.
Well, all right. I'll have some more, I guess.
That a girl. Now, look, I'm not trying to get you drunk, you understand, so I can take advantage of you. Although, come to think of it...
Dan, oh, don't. You almost knocked the table over.
Sorry, I guess I got a little carried away. You look very delectable in that robe.
Oh, did you really like it?
Irresistible.
I didn't take much of a wardrobe with me.
You said you were going to buy clothes in San Francisco.
Yes, if I can find out where to go,
I'll take you down to Union Square. I hear that's the place. Oh, I have told you about the weekend, haven't I?
No. What about it?
Well, I thought we'd get our first look at the town by taking one of those Circle Line cruises. That okay with you?
Oh, yes, that sounds lovely. I love to see places by water.
And if we can squeeze it in, we might go picnicking in Golden Gate Park. They've got this Japanese tea garden. It's supposed to be very nice.
Yes. All sounds wonderful, Dan.
Susan, I just wish you felt better. Listen, maybe you ought to check with the hotel doctor and In case you picked up a bug or something.
Do I look that bad to you?
No. You look just great to me, darling. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, honey. Reserve the car ahead of time. Then we can pick it up right away in San Francisco.
Whatever you think, Dan.
You wait right here. I'll go over to the counter.
It's all right.
Be back in 10 minutes.
All right, Dan.
Mrs. Carey.
Oh, no. Not you again.
I didn't mean to startle you.
Go away. Please go away. I don't want to see you anymore or hear anything you have to say.
Now, I know that I seem to be persecuting you or something.
As you can see, Lieutenant, I am in perfectly good health. I was not murdered in my sleep in that hotel room.
Look, Mrs. Carey, I've only got a few minutes before your husband gets back. I just wanted to finish my story about this other guy, this David Chase.
I don't care if you are a policeman. I'll call someone and have you arrested for bothering me.
David Chase's wife didn't get killed in Los Angeles. She died in San Francisco.
Where? In a hotel room?
No, not there. But they stayed at the San Remo. Is that where you're staying?
Yes, but millions of people do.
No, there wasn't any mysterious intruder this time. In fact, Mrs. Chase's death was listed officially as an accident. She had a little too much to drink at dinner, and her feet got tangled up on top of a very steep hill. The fall broke her neck. It was her very first day in San Francisco. She and her husband had quite a day, too. They took one of those boat cruises to see the city. Then they went to Golden Gate Park, to the Japanese tea garden. Miss Carey, are you okay?
No. No, I'm not okay. How could I be?
That night they went to a restaurant called the Vendome. That's where the lady drank too much, at least according to her husband.
Oh, dear God.
Listen, Mrs. Carey, I can't follow you anymore. I've got a job to get back to. I want you to take this.
Gun.
Quiet. Don't draw anyone's attention to us. Just take it. If I'm wrong and you don't need it, fine. Just throw it away.
No. I don't want
I
it.
cannot have you on my conscience, don't you understand?
All right. Yes, all right. I'll take it. I still say you're wrong.
I hope so. But I don't think I am.
Hello?
Mrs. Carey?
Yes?
This is the message desk. Your husband left a message here for you at 4 o'clock.
Oh, I've been out until now.
Would you like me to read it to you?
Yes, please.
It says, we'll be at the office until 6. Should be there no later than 6:30. Love, Dan.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye. $6:30. 6:20 now. Oh, God. Why do I keep staring at his luggage? Why can't I just forget about it? No. It isn't dishonest. It's just something I have to do. No, nothing in this one but clothing. This one has papers and things. All his documents. Birth certificate. Honorable discharge. U.S. Navy. Daniel Eldon Carey. That is his name. It is. That Matt Harrington was wrong. Doesn't this mean he was wrong? Or does it just mean that... No. I'm not going to start thinking that way. These look like photographs. Maybe it's family. Oh, no, wait. This picture is signed. Such a pretty girl. To Dan. All my love forever, Edith. Edith. What was the name he said? That policeman, what was the name that man's wife was? Wasn't it Edith? Oh, no. Who is it?
It's me, honey.
Oh, 1 second.
Hi, sweetheart. Sorry.
I forgot to take my key.
Hey, I'm not late, am I? I told him at the desk I'd be back at 6. Well, it's not even that. Hey, why is it so dark in here, Susan?
Oh, I just got back myself. I didn't think of turning on all the lights.
Susan, I have a confession to make. I wasn't at the office at all. My new staff thought they ought to christen the new boss. I tell you one thing about San Francisco. It's a hard-drinking town. Susan, what's the matter?
Dad, I found her picture.
What?
I found her picture. Your first wife's.
What are you talking about? I was never married.
Then what's her picture doing in your luggage?
Hey, what's going on here? You must be drunker
Look,
than I am.
me. Stay away from me, Dan.
Susan, are you out of your head?
I saw her picture. Do you hear me? I found her picture on our honeymoon.
Now, wait a minute. Do you mean Edith?
I know all about her. Yes, and about the other one. She drank too much, too, didn't she? She was drunk, too.
Now, look, will you calm down?
Is that what you were planning to do tonight? Get me drunk? At the restaurant? You were going to take me out to dinner tonight, weren't you?
Of course I was. I asked one of the guys at the...
Well, I can tell you the restaurant he picked. Do you want me to tell you the name of the restaurant, Dan? It's the Von Dome, isn't it?
What? Well, yes. I mean, it is. How did you know that?
Because I know it all. I know everything. Oh! No, don't come near me. I'll call the police.
Now, Susan, look. I don't know what the trouble is, but you've got to be sick. You need help.
No, don't come any closer.
You've been acting funny ever since we left Chicago.
I'm warning you. Look.
My God.
I've got a gun.
Susan, put that down.
I'm not going to end up like them.
Give me that thing, Susan.
Don't. Oh, don't,
Susan.
Susan. I don't want to shoot you.
One second. Wow.
Mr. Harvey?
Mrs. Carey, I didn't know that you were... Look, let me just get a shirt on. I was just shaving.
I'm sure you're surprised to see me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I didn't expect that you'd... what brings you back to L.A.?
I'm sure you know, Mr. Harvey. That is the right name, isn't it? Not Harrington?
I guess that means you know all about my little joke.
The gun wasn't a joke, was it? The gun was real.
Now, look, I can tell you're upset, but I didn't mean any harm. I mean, I like Dan. I really
you
do.
You despised my husband, Mr. Harvey. Why don't you admit it? You hated the fact that he got the job you wanted in San Francisco. And all you got was an assistant manager's job in Chicago.
You are wrong. I just thought it'd be a good gag, a good joke on Danny boy.
Yes. I've heard about your reputation. The great practical joker. You thought of a great one this time.
Yeah, but that's all it was.
You gave Dan the itinerary for our honeymoon trip. You were just being helpful, of course. You gave him all the names and places, all the benefit of your traveling experience.
That was the gag. See, I thought if Dan took you to all the places I listed for him...
You even knew about Edith, the girl he was once engaged to, the one who died. She became his murder victim in your little fantasy. What did you think would happen, Mr. Harvey? Did I get frightened enough to kill Dan so that you might get the job he took away from you?
Listen, is Dan all right?
I thought you might want this back, Mr. Harvey. Your gun.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Don't do anything stupid.
Oh, you don't have to worry. I found out that I'm a terrible shot.
Then Dan's alive?
See for yourself.
Hello, Marty.
Dan! Thank heavens you're okay. Look, Dan, I didn't mean for anything serious to happen.
See the bandage, Marty? Just a flesh wound in my arm. I'll be okay.
I'm glad to hear it, Danny. Honest, I am.
Mm-hmm. But I am learning to use my left arm, though.
Wait a minute. Oh, no, don't, please. I didn't mean it. Don't hit me again.
Relax, Marty. I've got better things to do. I've got a honeymoon to finish.
Although with any luck, it'll never end.
So you see, even murder stories can have happy endings. Martin Harvey may have spoiled Susan and Dan's honeymoon, but that doesn't mean he managed to spoil their marriage. No. If that's going to happen, Susan and Dan will take care of that all by themselves. I'll be back shortly.
Hello, this is Joe Franklin. Ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, for the very latest in nostalgia, for the ultimate in remembering, please join with me on Saturday nights from 9:05 to 11 o'clock, where memories are truly happening right here over WOR Radio. It is my privilege to present radio's original Memory Lane program, but positively the original. And whether it's Al Jolson or Benny Goodman or Louis Armstrong or Eddie Cantor or Harry James or the Dorseys, Mario Lanza, Gene Krupa, the young Frank Sinatra, George M. Cohan, Bing Crosby, Bogart, Lombard, Cagney, and all those happy times of radio's comedy and drama and soap opera. We have it fascinatingly, and all the sounds are reproduced crystal clear Saturday nights from 9:05 till 11 over WOR Radio. Yours truly, Joe Franklin, hosting Memory Lane. Tune in.
WOR New York, your station for Mystery Theater.
This is Sherry Henry. All New York knows it lost its governor recently when Rockefeller resigned. And we all know he's concerned now with his new commission on critical choices for America. But not many of us really understand what that commission is all about. Well, we'll all know more tomorrow afternoon when Henry Diamond, the executive director of that commission, divulges goals and directions. It's on the Sherry Henry program at 2:15 on WOR Radio.
A purist might claim that the story you have just heard isn't a murder story, since no one was actually killed. The murders which took place were all in the imagination of Martin Harvey, who passed them on to the mind of Susan Carey. But it's a good demonstration of the point we've tried to make all along, that the most terrifying crimes can happen within the theater of the mind. Our cast included Betsy von Furstenberg, Michael Wager, Elspeth Eric, and Mason Adams. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
Now, a preview of our next tale.
What are you thinking about, child?
The day you said it was bad luck for us to see each other before the wedding.
Nobody believes those old wives' tales.
Nobody believes so many things that are outside the ordinary. Did you see Michael's body after?
Don't talk about that, lass.
I knew they said the horse trampled him. I asked Dr. Ferguson about the hooves, and he wouldn't tell me. You'd tell me, wouldn't you, Jeannie?
Oh, tell you what?
Were they like horseshoes, or were they cleft in two? Were they cloven hooves?
In the name of God, what are you saying?
I'm not speaking of God. I'm speaking of the devil.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The WOR Mystery Theater was brought to you by ShopRite Supermarkets, where you get a lot more for a little less, and by Suburban Savings, with offices throughout North Jersey. The preceding Mystery Theater program was furnished by the CBS Radio Network.
Come in. Welcome. Welcome to Mystery Theater, I'm Hyman Brown. Welcome to the sounds of suspense, to the fear you can hear. Make yourself comfortable, for there are ill winds blowing outside. This is a tale of a titanic struggle between two colossal forces, one natural, the other supernatural. The prize, a girl's soul. And in the clash of fire and water, there is the very devil to pay. Come with me now to the faraway Firth in Scotland to meet the first of the forces.
It's the tide. It comes in faster than an express train.
Is it always like this?
Twice a day.
Doesn't it ever break?
It will when it gets just about abreast of us. Isn't it exciting?
That's one word for it.
That's why you don't dare go out on the flats on foot. If the tide was due, you'd never make it ashore.
Our mystery drama, Speak of the Devil, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Jada Rowland and Nick Pryor. I'll be back shortly with Act 1. They say he who dreams on the Solway will wake in another world. Not only is the tide a terror, but so are the quicksands, and far worse than either, the bogies, the warlocks, the unnamed things that haunt Scottish history. The Scots word for our story is eldritch. It means uncanny, eerie, frightful, otherworldly.
If you'll put out the light, Mrs. Petrie.
Hold my hand, Mike.
You'd better hold both mine.
Why?
You can't trust me in the dark.
I'm sorry, Colonel Bruce.
Now, Mike, Mary Ellen, I know you two young ones think a seance is a mite daft, but it's not the way the Colonel, Mrs. Petrie, and I feel.
Well, then maybe we'd better not stay.
Oh, no. We need 5 of the circle. It's a blessing you're here. But please, be serious. All of us have made contact with your dearest ones who have passed on through my control.
Control?
That's a messenger who brings us messages. Hanatu. He once was a slave in Babylon.
Babylon?
This is scary.
Hang in, darling.
Now, may we all join hands, please? I'm asking you not to break the chain of contact now. Clear your minds. Make them a blank. A quiet place. I'm reaching now. Reaching away and above and out and over from here to the bonny, bonny other place that lies beyond our ken. We're biding here, Anatu, asking you back into our circle. Will you not come back to us again?
Most precious lady, from across centuries, the time is not right now. I beg you, Kishbar is breathing fire tonight. Go, there is evil.
Stop it, in heaven's name. Someone get the light.
Yes.
It burned.
Ellen, where's that light? Mary Ellen, are you all right?
Yes, sir. What's all that smoke?
Oh, that's just the incense we burn. I'm the one to blame for meddling in the business of the Lord. We'll not ever have a seance in this house again. I'm afraid that I loosed some devil out of hell this night.
Ouch.
Oh, don't wriggle so much.
You stuck the pin in me, Aunt Jeannie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen. Oh, but it'll take more than a pinprick to burst your happiness.
Thank you, Aunt Jeannie, for letting me come home to be married. And for such a heavenly day.
Oh, well, I'll accept the thanks for bidding you back to where you grew up.
When Dad died so suddenly, I was lost. I didn't know what to do.
Well, you did just the right thing. You came home. You're two modern young people who are a lot smarter than we old people are. And as proud I am to be part of the gamble you're making in your lives.
I am all goosebumps. I'll get back into my jeans and sweater. I've got a skin, just like I had last Wednesday night.
Oh, don't mention it. I should never have had you children in that circle.
It was so scary. What happened?
I don't know.
It was some kind of trick, wasn't it?
I don't play tricks. Well, it was Maggie, your mother, who had the second sight, you know. That wee wisp, so delicate and so vibrant. When she died, it tore the heart out of me. But Will went off to America and left me to bring you up. Well, it put my heart back. And then when you were 15 and almost grown up and he wanted you to join him, I was left alone again. How could I stop you going?
I didn't want to go.
I know, but you were his flesh and blood. I found a way out of my loneliness. Nights when the roar of the tide used to come boiling up the firth outside the windows there, I thought I could hear Maggie calling to me. Or when the wind was skirling out of the northeast, I'd hear her voice on the wings of the blow. And I began to think maybe I had the call too. That's when I started the seances.
Until the other night?
Yes. I'll never hold a seance again, so the subject is closed. I realize I'm just a foolish old woman.
I've never been so scared.
Well, promise me to put it out of your mind. What's past is past. Your future is all that matters.
It seems so right to be back. As if something were calling me.
Oh, you're cold. I'll stir up the fire.
No, don't bother. I just miss my American central heating. I think I'll go outside in the sun for a minute or two.
Oh, go take a good brisk turn down the road while I finish this hem.
That's a good idea.
But don't go down the Firth road. Take the high road.
Why?
Well, I saw your Michael off this morning for the Solway. You don't want to run into the bridegroom on the wedding day. It's bad luck.
Kiss me, Ellen.
Aunt Jeannie thinks it's bad luck for the bride and groom to see each other on the wedding day.
You can't fault that. Back in Nebraska, my mother used to feel the same way. But that's just old-fashioned.
And Aunt Jeannie something else?
Darling, your Aunt Jeannie sure is something else.
Good or bad?
About 90% good. I just don't dig the spirit kick.
We won't have any more of that. It was awful, though, wasn't it?
It's all kind of self-hypnosis.
But that terrible raspy voice, whatever it was saying.
Ellen, there wasn't any voice.
You didn't hear it?
I heard something that sounded like your aunt choking herself to death.
But the first voice.
That's just the old girl practicing a little ventriloquism.
No, that awful burning smell.
Well, I will admit I like the Hare Krishna incense better. Come on, Ellen, let's forget all that mumbo-jumbo. Hey, dig that crazy character out there. Fishing in those little pools on the flats.
What's crazy about that?
On horseback?
But everyone does because of the tide.
The tide?
I forgot. If we hadn't been up in Glasgow wedding shopping, I'd have shown it to you. Look out there to the west. If that Gilly is up on his horse, it must be... Oh, yes, here it comes.
And there he goes. You'd think the devil was on his tail. What's his hurry?
Look, the tidal bore. It's coming.
You mean that big wave down at the mouth of the estuary?
Yes, it's the tide. It comes in faster than an express train. Listen.
Holy Maloney. Is it always like this?
Twice a day. Worse in the autumn and in the spring.
Doesn't it ever break?
It will when it gets just about abreast of us. Isn't it exciting?
That's one word for it.
That's why you don't dare go out on the flats on foot. If the tide was due, you'd never make it ashore. Oh, Michael, it's so thrilling and so good to be alive. I love you.
What'd you say?
I love you. Mike?
What, sir?
Husband?
Read that loud and clear. On my way.
What's taking you so long?
Just brushing my teeth.
Please come to bed.
Why didn't you say that in the first place?
Will you come under the covers? I'm freezing.
I'll put some more coal in the fire.
I don't want coal. I want my brand new husband.
You got him.
Oh.
What is it, darling?
Nothing. It's just that funny smell.
It's the coal smoke. Remember, you don't want coal to keep you warm. Just me.
Oh, my darling. Yes. 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 My husband. My darling. My husband. You. No. No. Please. No. No. Don't touch me. Go away. No. Oh, no. Michael. Your breath. Oh, the hair. Oh, no. No. I cast you out.
Michael, is there anything wrong?
No, Aunt Jeannie, why?
Well, I was dozing and I thought I heard... What's that I smell?
Is it your candle? I guess I let the fire go out.
Aye, it's a damp chimney, but just the same... Is Mary Ellen all right?
She's sound asleep. See for yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry to bother you, but...
What is it? What's troubling you?
I don't know. Maybe I was the one that dreamed it. Oh, be gentle with her, Michael. She's so sensitive and delicate. Like her mother that died all those years ago.
We'll keep her from any harm. Good night, Aunt Jeannie.
Oh, good night, Michael, dear. If we can. If it's in human hands to be able to. Snuff my candle out if you will, old Ricky. But hear me this. You'll not have Mary Ellen. You'll not have her like my sister Maggie.
Old Ricky could be translated Old Smoky. It's another name for the devil. Jeannie should know better than to mention him, for the old proverb says, speak of the devil, and his horns appear. Let's see when Mystery Theater returns shortly with Act 2. Dreams are made to die with the opening of day, and superstition fades and falters in the sunlight. So by the following morning, we could hope our bride and bridegroom would wake and rise on the right side of the bed. Let's find out as Michael comes downstairs.
Oh, good morning, Michael. I'm in the kitchen. Come on out.
Morning, Aunt Jeannie.
Well, and how is the bridegroom today?
Well, the bridegroom's first rate. It's the bride who's not.
Oh, what's wrong with the wee lass?
Oh, I don't know. I think now you were right last night.
Huh? Right. About what?
Oh, she had some kind of a bad dream. But if she did, she won't tell me about it. What do you think it might have been?
Oh, I don't know. She's a sensitive wee thing. And she's back in the part of the house where her mother died. That was Maggie's room you're in. Maybe I should never have put you there. Anyway, I'll get her tea and go on up and have a wee chat.
And I couldn't tell Mike. I couldn't. Not after my wedding night. How could I dream anything so vile and hideous? That great, gross presence bearing down on me. The breath so sick. The lips slavering. And that awful fur all over. Oh! And the fire burning me. That scorching smell. Oh, Aunt Jeannie. What a nightmare.
Oh, wished now. Then that's all it was.
But it seems so real.
Well, it wasn't. Because when I came by, you were sleeping sound. Oh, drink your tea now. Oh, it's a good thing you married that nice American boy with his head screwed good and tight.
Mike.
He'll blow all the cobwebs out of your head. And he's going to have a good chance to.
What do you mean?
I mean, you two are going to have a nice honeymoon all alone for a big, long month.
Where are you going?
Oh, I've got an old girls' school chum who lives just outside Blackpool at St. Anne-on-Sea. For years, she's wanted me to visit.
I'm not going to drive you out of your house.
Oh, you're going to do more than that, Mary Ellen. You and your handsome, bonny husband are going to move downstairs to my room, away from this drafty old flue. And while I'm gone, I'm going to get it fixed so the fire will burn clean. And I'll not take no for an answer.
I thought Scottish weather was supposed to be terrible. Rainy, damp, no sunshine.
This has been a very particular May.
Our honeymoon.
Yes. Sorry it's over.
Desolate.
Still, with Aunt Jeannie back, maybe you'll get a little more work done on the book.
Darling, I have been busy in research. It is a love story. Speaking of that, do you think...
Look down the road.
I can't. Your front's in the way.
That's Dr. Ferguson bringing Aunt Jeannie back. Our month is up.
Speaking of your front, do you know how you blossomed in the last 4 weeks?
All right, Playboy, let's concentrate on other physical problems. How do we get out of a hammock without breaking a limb? Welcome home, Aunt Jeannie.
Oh, Mary Ellen, precious. You've turned into a real Scots lassie. You've got the bloom on your cheeks.
It's happiness. And those warm spring winds from the west. Hello, Dr. Ferguson.
Hey, well, Mrs. Stilson. As a physician, I can only concur with your aunt's diagnosis. You're a picture of health. And how are you, Mr. Tilson?
Never better, sir.
Oh, I can believe that. Well, I really have to be back on rounds.
Thank you for meeting Aunt Jeannie at the station.
It should have been me.
Without a car? Oh, you'd have had hard shrift getting me aboard Old Bess since the carriage broke its wheel.
You know, Jeannie, you should put that old horse out to pasture now she's nothing left to pull.
Oh, I couldn't do that. We're too used to each other, poor old soul. All right, Dr. Ferguson. Away you go.
Right you are. See you soon.
I'll take your bags up to the house, Aunt Jeannie.
Oh, give me a hug first. That's right. Now, off you go. And me and Mary Ellen will have a week's chat on the way up to the house. Goodbye, Percy. Oh, I should never have said that. He hates the name.
I'm not sure I blame him.
Oh, well, that's not what's on my mind. How are you, dearie?
You can see for yourself. Oh, don't say anything to Mike yet. But I just have to tell someone. Aunt Jeannie, I know I'm pregnant.
Well, Mrs. Stilson.
Tell me. Am I pregnant?
Oh, the tests will prove it, but I'll bet on it. And let me say that you're the loveliest expectant mother I've ever had under my care. A little morning sickness is to be expected in these early months. Still...
There's nothing wrong, Doctor.
A young, healthy woman, what could be wrong? Still, we must take precautions. I'm writing out some medication for you that I want you to take each day.
But what does Dr. Ferguson say is causing it?
It's nothing, dear. Just some little hitch.
Honey, we both had thorough physical checkups before we came to Scotland. The RH factor is ruled out. Why should you...
Lots of women have morning sickness.
It isn't only in the morning, Helen.
I'll talk to Dr. Ferguson. Maybe we should change the medication.
Mary Ellen, dear, I've talked to Dr. Ferguson, and he's completely puzzled. I'm not sure that I am, though. Is there anything you want to tell me?
What can I tell you, Aunt Jeannie, that I haven't told him?
Are you in pain?
I've talked to the doctor about that. It isn't pain. I don't know.
Ellen, are you dreaming again?
Of what?
Of the presents.
I don't want to talk anymore. I just want to sleep. Only I don't want to. I don't want to sleep at all. It's just that I'm so tired. So tired.
You have to help me, Aunt Jeannie.
How, Michael?
Dr. Ferguson says that physically Mellon should be all right. The baby seems to be thriving. It's her mental state that... Do you know she won't go to sleep at nights? She forces herself to stay awake? What is it she's afraid of dreaming about, Aunt Jeannie? It is that, isn't it?
I can't tell you just what she's dreaming. I'm too far out of touch since I went away. But I do know one thing. The only way to stop it is to get her away from here.
As easy as that?
Oh, not so easy, maybe. She's bound and determined on having you finish your book first.
Ah, the devil take the book. Mellon comes first.
You sure you don't mind, Michael?
I'm very sure. We're going home to have your baby 3,000 miles away.
Oh, darling. I don't know what to say. It can't be too soon for me.
Well, it's sooner than you think. We're booked out of Glasgow tomorrow afternoon, home for America.
I don't know. I should be feeling all sorts of things, I know, but the only one I can really feel is relief. Oh, such blessed relief. Oh, for the first time, as long as I can remember, days, weeks, I just want to go to sleep.
Good night, darling. Rest. Sweet dreams.
You'll keep me safe. You won't let me come to any harm.
For better or worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us. Sleep, poor baby. Rest.
I love you, Michael. I love you. Keep our baby safe. Don't let...
Ellen, what is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's pain, like a knife. I think maybe I'm going to lose the baby.
You're going to be all right, Ellen. Don't worry.
Get Dr. Ferguson.
I'm going to call him now. You'll be all right.
I'm fine. Just get him.
I'll send Aunt Jeannie up to you while I phone. Aunt Jeannie!
What is it? What is it, Michael?
Helen, maybe a miscarriage. What's Dr. Ferguson's number?
Oh, you'll no get him by the phone. It's out of order again.
Hello?
Laddie, it's no use. It won't be fixed before morning.
I'll go to the neighbors.
It's a party line. If one's out, they're all out.
Oh, God! How far to the doctors?
A good 3 miles.
Who's got a car?
Only Colonel Petrie, and he's away up to Edinburgh for his regimental reunion.
All right, then I'll go on foot. Aunt Jeannie, go up and help her. I'll make it as fast as I can.
By the wheel, Michael. Can you ride a horse?
Yes.
Good. Then take old Bessie. There's a bridle and saddle by her in the barn. She'll get you there faster.
Take care of her, Aunt Jeannie. Don't let anything happen to her.
Right along the Firth Road till you come to town. He's the 3rd house in on the right. And take care of yourself.
What's taking Michael so long?
Oh, just lie still. Don't bring back the pain.
It's funny. I thought it was going to tear me in two. And then within 10 minutes after Michael left the house, it just stopped suddenly. As if... What's that?
Oh, there's a car. That'll be the doctor. I'll let him in. Bide quiet now. Oh, come on in, Doctor. What took you so long?
Oh, I tried to phone you the moment I found out, and I got here as soon as...
Yes.
Oh, then you know.
Of course I know. Who do you think's been taking care of Mary Ellen? Now you get on up to her and... What? Where's Michael?
Oh, Jeannie, Michael is dead.
Dead? How?
Oh, here, let me close the door.
Oh.
Was Michael riding to try to fetch me?
Of course. She thought she was losing the baby. What happened to him?
Bess must have thrown him.
Oh, she never threw a body in her life. She was as gentle as...
Something must have frightened her, driven her frantic. Jeannie, this is a terrible thing to tell you, but I examined the boy, and his body was covered with hoof marks. He was literally trampled to death.
So Ellen has kept her baby and lost her husband. Some evil force shadows this innocent and tragic girl and still may threaten her. Those hoof marks, were they from the horse or in some dark, unfathomable way, were they supernatural, a demon's footprint? Perhaps we'll know when Mystery Theater returns with Act 3. For 2 weeks, Ellen, after the first wild emotion when she heard of Mike's death, has retreated into herself, her face white and drawn, her eyes black and empty, like 2 holes burned in a blanket. Now, as the doctor comes down, after examining her...
How is she today, Doctor?
No change. Listless, unreachable, hopeless.
And her health. The baby.
The baby. There's no doubts of its vitality.
Oh, I have a terrible time getting her to eat anything.
Well, you must be more successful than you think, Jeannie. There's nothing the matter with Mary Ellen physically. No, it's her mental health that concerns me.
The poor bairn has been through a terrible shock, Percy.
Yeah, I know.
You don't think there is any chance of her losing her mind?
Jeannie, Mary Ellen is beyond me and my knowledge. Somehow we've got to call in a psychiatrist.
Oh, Percy, what is it you're afraid of for Mary Ellen?
Well, you don't like my medical terms.
I want to know.
Very well, then. Schizophrenia, more specifically dementia precox. Paranoid type, I'd guess.
Oh, well, what does all that mean?
Withdrawal from life, delusions of all kinds, persecution, unseen enemies, that sort of thing.
Oh, the second sight. Just like all of us.
Now that's enough of that nonsense. You're all sensitive, delicately balanced women, but all things being equal, perfectly normal. Well, I have other calls to make.
Oh, well, I'll walk you to the door. Any instructions for Mary Ellen?
Oh, just that she keep on with the sedation I've provided. And Jeannie, try to persuade her to let me call in another doctor.
I'll see what's best to do.
Be very careful.
I'll do what's right.
Yeah, I think maybe tonight I'll take a run up to Glasgow and have a consultation with a friend of mine there, Dr. Engel. Good man. Maybe I could persuade him to run back down here with me just to observe her.
Oh, bide a wee till I see what I can do first, eh?
Yeah, all right. Another day or so can't do any harm. I hope.
Who is it?
It's Aunt Jeannie, Mary Ellen. May I come in?
If you want.
I thought you might like a wee cup of tea.
No, thanks.
What are you staring at? Out the window.
The Solway. The tide just came in. Roaring and boiling. So fast. And now the water's all smooth. And with the sun on it, everything's wiped clean. I wonder if it heals as it washes over.
What are you thinking about, child?
I'm thinking about the first time I showed the tide to Michael. The day we were married. The day you said it was bad luck for us to see each other before the wedding.
Oh, I was just joking about superstitions. Nobody believes those old wives' tales.
Nobody believes so many things that are outside the ordinary. So many things they say don't exist but might be. Did you see Michael's body after?
What?
Did you see the marks of the hooves?
Oh, don't talk about that, lass.
I know they said the horse trampled him. I asked Dr. Ferguson about the hooves and he wouldn't tell me. You'd tell me, wouldn't you, Jeannie?
Oh, tell you what?
Were they like horseshoes? Or were they cleft in two? Were they cloven hooves?
In the name of God, what are you saying?
I'm not speaking of God. I'm speaking of the devil. Or some demon that haunts my dreams.
No, this is no time for foolish fancies. You mustn't let dreams spill over into your real life.
Or is it the other way around?
Oh, Mary Ellen, I don't know what it is you have on your mind, but...
You can get me to Michael. Let me talk to Michael. He'll know. He can tell me what to do. Take me to Michael and Jeannie. Take me to him.
Oh, how can I, Mary Ellen? You know...
I know he's passed beyond. But you can reach him. You can hold a seance.
No. Oh, no. I swore I never would again after
what happened that night when something got loose? Some evil presence? Something from... Auntie, you let him loose. The least you can do is help me undo the harm.
I can't. I won't. I'll get the doctor.
You dare to bring him here and I'll kill myself. I swear it.
Child, you're out of your...
No. Not yet. But if you don't have that seance and let me find out from Michael what to do, I will be. I'll lose my mind. You've got to promise. Promise.
Oh, calm down, child. Calm down.
Tonight. Now.
No, that isn't possible. There have to be more than two to form a circle.
Then call in the colonel and that other woman. Anyone. Just promise me. Promise. I need him. I need Michael. Promise, Aunt Jeannie. Promise.
May God forgive me. I promise. May we all join hands, please. Clear your minds. Make them a blank, a quiet place, open and hushed. I'm reaching now, reaching away and above and out and over from here to the bonny, bonny other place that lies beyond our ken. Can you hear me, Anatu? Can you come to me into our circle? Anatu, we're reaching for you. Oh, I can't make contact.
Ask for Michael.
I have no way to him.
Then let me.
Oh, try it. Everyone, concentrate. Be still. Be still.
Michael. Michael, I need you. Come to me. Oh, Michael, I love you.
I love you. We'll be together again.
Michael.
It's not our child you're carrying. Get rid of it.
Michael!
It's no use, child. There's no contact tonight. We can break the ring. Will someone turn on the light, please? Oh, I'm that sorry, Mary Ellen.
It's all right, Aunt Jeannie. You gave me what I wanted. I found out what I needed to know.
Oh, I'm afraid that's quite impossible, my dear.
You're not as backward as that, Dr. Ferguson. Then help me.
I can't, dear. It's too late.
What do you mean, too late?
When you came to me a few weeks ago and we determined your pregnancy, you must have known that I would know it was already well advanced.
But it wasn't. Michael and I were only married a month before that. You should know that.
Well, of course I know that, my dear, but facts are facts. You're carrying a child that's past midterm, and abortion now is just too dangerous.
Past midterm. 4.5 months.
My guess is at least 5.
That fast? Oh, God, no. It mightn't wait. It could be born any minute. There's no one to help me but myself.
Well, I'll drive you home, child, and I'll give you something to get a little rest. She's sound asleep now, Jeannie. Let's go downstairs and talk.
Poor wee angel. So thin and pale and haunted.
Come away. Let her rest.
No. What you gave, you'll never take away. Never? It's never going to be. Help me. God, help me. The tide. Yes, that's the way. Full moon. The time was right.
And for our own protection, I see no other way, Jeannie.
But to lock her away...
Well, we're not locking her up. It's a sanitarium. It's a really lovely place.
I don't think I could do it to her. I'll care for her.
Jeannie, dear, if Ellen had preeclampsia or a threatened miscarriage or any one of a number of other diseases of pregnancy, she would have to be hospitalized. Now, think of it that way.
All right, Patsy, if you think it's best.
It's the only way.
Oh, no, Doctor. Mine is the only way.
Oh, that sounded like the front door.
Ellen. Oh, I'll check upstairs. You look outside.
Oh, but I thought you said she... Oh, dear Lord. I got the premonition. Mary Ellen? Mary Ellen! Are you out there?
Jeannie, it's Mary. She's gone.
No.
I gave her enough sedation to knock her out, but she's gone.
Oh, but where?
She's out on the first. Come on, Jeannie. We've got to catch her before the tide.
You'll never have him. He'll never be born. One way.
I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the sound of suspense. Welcome to the fear you can hear. But mostly to the world of terrifying imagination. In the next 52 minutes, you'll hear a story about truth. Everyone is in favor of truth, of course. It's a word which produces immediate reverence and respect. But sometimes the truth can be a terrible thing, even a shattering thing.
Oh, my God! Mark, you hit a woman! Oh, I told you not to drive so fast!
I didn't see her. I didn't see her crossing the road.
Is she alive? Oh, Mark, look at the way she's lying there.
Lorna,
Oh,
she must be
Mark.
dead. Lorna, you mustn't tell anyone. Please, you mustn't tell anyone.
Our mystery drama, The Ring of Truth, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Henry Slusser and stars Agnes Moorehead. It is sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser, and by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
Some beer drinkers have funny ideas about beer. They think beer improves with age, like wine. Well, find a brewmaster, though. You'll find a beer drinker who knows better. The Budweiser brewmaster says it all depends on how beer is aged. Just letting beer sit in lagering tanks makes it older, not necessarily better. That even goes for keeping a case around the house for a couple of months. But there is one kind of aging that's good for beer, the Budweiser kind, beechwood aging. In this kind of aging, something happens. It lets all the flavor of the choicest hops and best barley malt that go into Budweiser get through to you. Sure, it takes more time and trouble to brew Budweiser that way, but brewing beer right does make a difference. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
Hey, Ma, what's for dinner?
ShopRite has a beautiful buy to help you serve dinner. Fine imported porcelain china. The beautifully crafted Lovelace pattern by Crown Victoria. An elegant white-on-white platinum-banded pattern to complement any table. Now available only at ShopRite. The basic place-setting pieces, dinner plate, cup and saucer, dessert plate, and bread and butter plate, are just 39 cents. 39 cents each with every $3 purchase. A different place-setting piece is featured each week at this special price. You'll want to collect all the magnificent completer pieces and matching ovenware available every week at low prices, too. Visit ShopRite and start your set of lovely porcelain china today. It's a beautiful buy.
Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? ShopRite has the answer.
Offer not available in Westchester, Ulster, Orange, Dutchess, and Columbia counties.
Now here's Act One of The Ring of Truth. The place, a charming college town in New England. The people you're about to meet, young Lorna Kittredge and the special man in her life, Mark Kramer. His driving speed, a comfortable 30 miles an hour.
I'll tell you what I resent most about your father, Lorna. It's the fact that he deliberately keeps forgetting my name.
Mark, don't be so silly. Daddy has a genuine problem about names.
No, I'm sorry, darling. I just can't buy this absent-minded professor stuff. It's too corny.
Corny or not, that's exactly what my father is sometimes. Absent-minded. His mind is always up in the stratosphere somewhere, communing with Socrates or Schopenhauer on the meaning of truth. You just don't like my father very much.
I hardly know your father. Look, I want to get along with him, Lorna. After all, he's going to be my father-in-law, isn't he?
You're almost home. What can I do to put you in a better mood?
That's easy, darling. You can promise to tell him tonight.
Oh, Mark. Tonight?
Why not?
But I told you that the Pryors are going to be at dinner tonight. Harold Pryor's Daddy's publisher.
So, after they leave, you can tell him. Lorna, we've been engaged for almost 3 weeks now. Nobody knows about it except you and me.
Well, isn't that enough?
Not for me, it isn't. No. I'm the kind of guy who wants to shout it from the housetops.
Yes, I do, too. I really do, Mark. I love you so much.
All right, darling. And prove it. Tell him tonight, Lorna. Tell him you're going to marry what's-his-name.
How do you think I'm right? You're quite right, Harold. What the book needs is a much sexier title.
Well, of course, there isn't a word about sex in it, but what's the difference as long as it sells, huh?
What's the latest book about?
Why, truth, of course.
Daddy's favorite subject.
Should be everyone's favorite subject, in my opinion.
You know, if you really want a suggestion for a new title, Professor, I think I have one.
Do you, Max?
Daddy, the name is Mark.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry, Mark. Well, go on. Let's hear your suggestion.
Why not call it The Ring of Truth?
Well, I think that's a very good name, but, of course, that's up to Professor Kittredge.
It's not a bad title, Mark, but, well, it does imply a lack of sincerity, doesn't it? The Ring of Truth is only the surface appearance of it. What I'm examining in my book is the necessity for stark truth, for truth unafraid.
Of course, there's a fairly good argument against stark truth sometimes, isn't there? I mean, there's still a necessity for a white lie now and then.
You mean in the real estate business, perhaps?
No, not just in my business, in everyone's. I mean, there are times when tact, courtesy, and general goodwill call for a shading of the truth.
May I make a suggestion, everyone? Why don't we have our coffee in the living room?
It's a good idea, darling.
You know, George, I wonder...
I'll give you a hand with the dishes, honey. Besides, I'd like a little conversation with you in the kitchen.
All right, Mark. I know what you're going to say. Daddy was impossible tonight.
Now, your father's a great scholar, man of ideals, the Albert Schweitzer of New England. I'm only a poor schnook of a real estate man, but I'm perfectly willing to put up with him for your sake.
Put up with him?
Won't be easy. A crass, materialistic guy like me marrying into all that saintliness. What can I do? I'm crazy about his daughter.
You idiot. Oh, Mark, my hands are wet.
Will you tell him tonight?
Yes, the minute everyone leaves.
He's not going to be happy about it, you know that. He won't be happy about losing you.
Well, he knew it had to happen someday.
All right, then tell him that day has come. Tell him the truth.
I always tell Daddy the truth. Daddy, can I come in?
Yes, darling, of course.
I didn't want to interrupt your reading.
I can't really read this book. I don't understand the language. Have you seen it, by the way? Still another edition, German, of the 7 Secrets of Shakespeare.
It's lovely. What a beautiful binding.
Yes, I'm pleased with it. I suppose an author never loses his affection for the first book he writes.
Well, it's more than just that. This book made you famous.
In very limited circles, yes. And I hope you've enjoyed the evening and that your friend did, too.
The only thing Mark didn't like was being called Max.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Precious. I hope he wasn't offended. But you have to admit that you do bring home a lot of young men.
Daddy, that may have been true once, but Mark Kramer is the only man I've seen for the last 6 months.
That long?
And the reason I've seen him so much is that, well, I'm in love with him.
Well, that isn't an entirely new phenomenon either, is it?
Daddy, Mark asked me to marry him. I said yes.
Marriage?
You know that word, don't you? It's English, not German.
Yes, I know the word, but, well, it's just that I never supposed you'd want to marry now. I mean, before your doctorate, before you've done all those things we planned to do together.
Marriage wouldn't put an end to our plans. And as for your lecture tour, well, you don't really need me along.
I don't know if I'd want to go without you. I'm getting a little old to gallivant around Europe by myself.
Well, it's the first time I've heard you complain about being old.
For some reason, the last 10 seconds, I began to feel old.
Of course, Mark and I could go with you to Europe as a sort of honeymoon.
No, Lorna, he's not going to want that, I'm sure. In fact, my guess is that your young man is going to want to see as little of me as he possibly can.
No, Daddy, that isn't so. He knows that I won't just abandon you. I couldn't be that heartless.
That's the last word I'd use about you, Precious. I know your heart only too well. I know what a tender, beating little thing it is. I've always been afraid of the man who would trap it someday.
I just wish you knew Mark better. He's not a
I'm not
scholar.
saying anything against Mark. I fear this way about any man. I'm like the tired old king of the fairy tale, darling, forced by the condition of kingdom to give the hand of his princess to a commoner.
Oh, Daddy. Mark, you're just being pig-headed. It won't even be 6 months. And by that time, I'll have my doctorate, and Daddy's lecture tour will be over.
Oh, that's great. Just great. Waiter, where's the drink I ordered?
Mark, I've never seen you have more than 2 martinis in my life.
Oh, you're wrong, my love. I had one before you got here. The one coming up will be number 4.
Mark, please, don't be so upset. I'm not breaking our engagement. I'm simply asking for a postponement.
How long did he take to talk you into it, Lorna?
Well, it was something I decided to do, Mark. All by myself.
Because you realized how important it was? To get your Ph.D.? To make sure Daddy was taken care of on his lecture tour?
But it is important to me.
You know, you're a lucky girl to have a father like that. Now, you take my old man. Good old Charlie Kramer. Real estate. I don't think he ever heard of an ethic or an ideal in his life. Probably told a dozen lies a day, old Charlie. I guess that's why he turned out so badly.
You're drinking too much. You always do when you're angry.
Just another flaw in my character. Hardly noticeable in the general ruin of my personality.
Please, Mark, I don't want you to be drunk to drive me home.
Oh, don't worry. I won't even have that 4th drink. See what a nice guy I am? I want to make sure you get home to Daddy safe and sound.
Mark, are you sure you don't want me to drive?
No, you just leave the driving to us.
It's starting to rain. I think you should turn your wipers on.
That isn't rain, precious. Those are tears in front of your eyes.
Please, Mark.
All right, all right.
Do you have to drive so fast? I know there isn't any traffic, but these roads are so dark.
That's what the headlights are for. How far these little candles throw their beams, so shines a good deed in a naughty world. Hey, you see, your father isn't the only one who can quote you. What?
Look out! That woman!
Where?
Oh! You hit her! Oh, Lord!
I didn't see her. I didn't see her crossing the road, so help me.
Is she dead? Oh, Mark, look at the way she's lying there.
She's Lorna.
Oh.
The woman's dead.
No. Well, horrible. I told you not to drive so fast. Awful. And it was my fault. My fault that Mark drank so much. He really doesn't like whiskey very much, but when I told him about what we decided about postponing the wedding...
You mean what you decided, darling? It was your decision.
He was driving so recklessly. He must have been going 60 miles an hour on that road. The speed limit there was only about 30.
They haven't arrested him, have they?
No.
But the police were called, weren't they?
Yes. They know Mark, of course. He's lived here all his life.
Didn't they give Mark a sobriety test?
No, nobody even suggested it. I mean, Mark didn't seem to be drunk at all. Not after it.
And of course, he didn't say he'd been drinking. Didn't mention the speed he was traveling at.
Well, they asked him. Mark said he was going 35, and the woman just stepped out in front of him.
I see.
He had to say it, Daddy. I mean, otherwise it would have been a crime, wouldn't it?
I think it's called vehicular homicide.
Well, he could go to prison for that, couldn't he?
Perhaps.
Oh, Daddy.
Donna, what did you say?
What?
What did you tell them when the police talked to you about the accident?
They didn't. They didn't ask me anything. They said there would be an inquest to determine the facts. I suppose I'd have to answer questions then.
And what will you say then?
Why, I don't know. I mean, I have to corroborate Mark's story, of course.
Is that what you're going to do?
Oh, well, if you could have seen his face, Daddy, it was like a child. Like a little boy, afraid to be punished. He said, "You'll stand by me, Lorna, won't you?"
And so you're going to stand by him. You're going to forget all you ever learned about truth. You're going to lie.
But, Daddy, what else can I do?
I can't advise you, my darling. All I can do is remind you that you and I have always loved truth as much as we've loved each other. Are you going to change now?
And so Lorna finds herself in the corner of a triangle. The man she loves on one side, the father she loves on the other. But the invisible corner of the triangle is that mysterious thing called truth. We'll find out what Lorna Kittredge does when I return shortly with Act 2.
And now another tale of the ball and chain. At Kellogg's Special K
Presents Overweight on an overnight train.
Is the seat taken?
Please, sit down. You have exceptional legs. But why is one of them attached to a ball and chain?
This ball and chain? It's a symbol.
Funny, I would have sworn it was a ball and chain.
I mean symbolic. Because carrying around a few extra pounds can be just like lugging around this ball and chain.
I see. May I suggest something?
Uh-huh.
Try a bowl of Special K skim milk, orange juice, and coffee. It's the Special K breakfast.
Will it make me lose weight?
No.
Oh.
You must also exercise and eat smart at every meal.
I see.
Do you know the Special K breakfast is less than 240 calories, 99% fat-free, and delicious?
No, but if you hum a few bars over time... And that's another tale of the ball and chain.
Your happy ending could begin with the Kellogg's Special K breakfast.
That's Kellogg's Special K. Good night.
This is WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
No matter what you're saving for, that's what Suburban Savings for Suburban.
Suburban Savings offers you a regular savings account with flexibility. You can add any amount to your account whenever you wish. Withdraw whenever you want. Suburban Savings pays a 5.25% annual interest rate on regular savings paid quarterly, which earns an annual effective yield of 5.47%. Interest is compounded continuously from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, as long as $50 is maintained in the account to the end of the quarter. Come into Suburban Savings and open an account with flexibility. Our regular savings account in New Jersey at Bayonne, Edgewater, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Hackettstown, Morris Plains, Nutley, Paramus, and Sparta.
Ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Will that familiar saying work in the case of Mark Kramer? It may all depend on the outcome of the next conversation you hear in the home of Professor John Kitteridge and his daughter.
Lorna, may I come in?
Yes, Daddy.
All dressed already?
Yes. I know I don't have to leave for the county courthouse for another hour, but I was too nervous to just lie in bed.
Why don't you come downstairs and have some breakfast with me?
No, I couldn't. I feel too sick.
Oh, poor kitty. I haven't called you that since you were a little child. Or don't you remember me calling her that?
No, not really.
You see, before you were born, I wanted to name you Catherine. But your mother objected because she was certain you'd be nicknamed Kitty. Then you'd be Kitty Kitteridge. And she hated the sound of it.
You've told me the story before.
I know you're not in the mood for old family anecdotes.
All I can think about is that inquest this morning. I'm so frightened. My skin feels like ice.
Darling, you won't have to be frightened if you do what I said. It's only lying that makes us afraid.
Please don't talk about it. I have to lie for Mark. I love him. I'm going to marry him.
Do you think the others will lie? The bartender at that restaurant? What was the name of that again?
Bruno's? Yes. He'll defend Mark. I'm sure he will. They don't like trouble. They had some license problem last year. They won't want to admit that they served Mark so many drinks that he was hardly able to walk. To say nothing of drive.
So you're the only one who has to lie.
Daddy, the woman is... Nothing will bring her back. Lies, truth, nothing. Who does it help if Mark goes to prison?
Yes. You're right, precious. There's no profit in truth. None at all.
Then you agree with me.
No profit, Lorna. Only loss, maybe. But that's something you'll have to judge for yourself. You know my feeling about truth. You know what I've always taught you about it.
Yes. Dare to be true. Nothing can need a lie. A fault which needs it most grows too thereby.
You used to like that poem. Now you're quoting it with contempt.
Oh, Daddy, why can't you understand? Why do you have to be so demanding? Let me forget truth just this once.
Your mind is your own, Lorna.
Well, I want to do what's right.
Then do what you want to do. You're an adult now, independent of me. Lie if you want to. But don't look for my approval. And above all, don't ask for my blessing.
Daddy!
Let's have some quiet. The coroner's jury has to hear the testimony if they're going to judge it. Sergeant McKeon, was any investigation made of the skid marks at the scene of the accident with a view to determining the speed of the vehicle?
No, sir, there wasn't. The condition of the road and the rain we had that night, well, it was impossible to tell the difference between the skid marks and the tire treads. That's why no measurement was made.
It's been stated that the driver of the vehicle, Mark Kramer, had left the establishment called Bruno's shortly before the accident. Since Bruno's is in the business of serving hard liquor, among other things, did the police give Mr. Kramer a sobriety test?
No, sir, we didn't. You see, sir, we didn't know at the time where Mr. Kramer had been. All we knew was that Mrs. Moger was in. Mr. Kramer didn't appear like he'd been drinking.
All right, Sergeant, you can step down.
Thank you.
The coroner's office calls Mr. Kramer to the stand, please. Mr. Kramer, this inquest isn't a trial. Our duty here is simply to determine the cause of death. But you must give your testimony under oath. Please raise your hand on the Bible.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Mr. Kramer. Just tell us your story of what happened the night of the accident.
Well, Miss Kittredge and I left Bruno's about 9 that evening, about a half hour before the accident. I'd had one drink, vodka martini. You can ask Mr. Bruno about that because he served me.
Go on.
When I reached Route 24, I decided to take the Ridge Road shortcut to town. I was traveling between 30 and 35 miles an hour, I'd say, and I remember slowing down when the rain started. I had my wipers going when I came over the rise of the hill, so my windshield was clear. But I still didn't see Mrs. Moger when she stepped out into the road directly in front of the car.
Were your lights on full beam?
Yes, sir, they were.
Why do you suppose Mrs. Moger didn't see them?
I don't really know. What I think is she was almost across the road when I came over the rise, and she panicked when she realized that a car was coming. She started back in the wrong direction, and that was when she stepped in front of the car.
Is that your entire testimony?
Yes, sir, it is.
Very well, Mr. Kramer. You can return to your seat. Will Miss Lorna Kittredge take the chair, please? Place your hand on the Bible, Miss Kittredge.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please speak up, Miss Kittredge.
I do.
Miss Kittredge, you were with Mr. Kramer on the night of the accident.
Yes.
You went with him to the place called Bruno's.
Yes, I did.
And did you have a drink that night?
Yes, I had a martini.
The same as Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
When Mr. Kramer's car approached Mrs. Moger's driveway, did you see the lady before the automobile struck her?
I'm not sure. I think I saw her for just a split second. And then the car hit her. It was all terribly unreal.
Were you aware of the speed you were traveling at? Miss Kittredge.
I'm not sure of the exact speed.
Mr. Kramer thinks it was between 30 and 35. Do you agree with that?
No.
What was that?
It couldn't have been that. It was more like 55 or 60.
Did you say 60, Miss Kittredge?
About that, yes.
Lorna, for God's sake.
I hope you've considered this reply, Miss Kittredge.
Yes, I've considered it. We were traveling at least that. I'd been looking at the speedometer only a few minutes before. I was complaining to Mark about his speed, but he wouldn't listen to me. He wasn't in any mood to listen. He was angry, and he was drunk.
Lorna!
Please, everybody, quiet now. Mr. Kramer, please take your seat.
It's the truth. The truth, I can't help myself. He was drinking. He had too many martinis, and he was drunk.
Are you telling us he had more than one drink?
He had 4. I know he did. And he drove like a madman. No matter how I tried to stop him, he never thought that woman would be on the road at that time of night. He wouldn't listen. I couldn't believe it was really happening. It was like hearing someone else say the words.
Please don't cry, Kitty.
I tried not to look at his face. I tried so hard not to see him, but I couldn't stop myself.
How can you blame yourself for telling the simple truth? How can you think it's wrong?
But don't you realize what'll happen to him, Daddy? He's going to be indicted. He may go to prison.
I'm sure Mr. Kramer will hire himself a very smart attorney.
Who's that?
I have no idea.
Oh, I can't see anyone now. I just can't.
Yes, of course. You go to your room and I'll answer it. Go on, darling. Go lie down.
Yes.
Oh, it's you.
I want to see Lorna.
Mark, please listen to me. I know exactly how you're feeling at the moment.
Thanks for remembering my name, Professor. That must be the very first time.
I'm sure you realize that what Lorna did this morning was extremely difficult and painful for her. That it was an agonizing decision.
Only who made it?
Lorna's lying down right now. I suggest you try telephoning her later.
I'm not leaving until I see her.
I had hoped we wouldn't get violent about all this, Mark. Frankly, I don't think you're in a good position to commit any other rash actions.
Daddy, it's all right.
Lorna, I thought you were in your room.
I'll talk to Mark.
Very well. But don't ask me to leave, because I won't.
You don't have to leave, Professor. I'd like you to know this, too.
Know what?
What the town gossips are saying. Lorna, they're saying that we had some kind of fight. A lover's quarrel, and that you wanted to get back at me.
Oh, you know that's not so.
Yes, I know it. But the other explanation makes even less sense. That you just had to tell the truth.
Well, it wasn't easy for me. Lies would have been easier.
One small lie, Lorna. That was all you had to say. You're so afraid of hell that you wouldn't lie for me?
I can't expect you to understand.
But I do understand. Better than you do, maybe. It was your father's idea.
Now, just a moment, Kramer.
Well, you remember my last name, too. I think I made more of an impression on you than you were willing to admit.
There's no need to be nasty.
Lorna, you're so stuck on the truth. Tell it now. He told you what to do in that courtroom. Professor Kittredge's little girl always listens to Daddy, and she never lies.
Please, Mark.
He insisted that you tell the truth, didn't he? He gave you a lot of high-flown ethical reasons for telling the truth. Nothing but the truth. Every reason but the real one.
You're wrong. I made up my own mind.
Your father knew what would happen. It would split us apart, and that's what he really wanted, Lorna. That's the truth that he didn't mention.
I think that's quite enough. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police.
Don't bother, Professor. You've done a very good job. On Lorna and on me.
Oh, Daddy. Daddy.
Kitty, don't. It's going to be all right.
How can it be? He hates me now. Mark hates me.
Things will change. You wait and see. He'll get himself a smart lawyer, and nothing will happen to him.
Mark Kramer, having been found guilty of the crime of manslaughter, it is my duty to sentence you to imprisonment for a period of not less than 1 year and not more than 5.
And so the truth has not set Mark Kramer free. It sent him to prison, where he'll have plenty of time to ponder the complexities of ethics, justice, and human nature. Or perhaps he'll ponder something else, like revenge. We'll find out when I return shortly with Act 3.
I'm High Brown, producer of Radio Mystery Theater, And this is the end of our last week of prize drawings. Just send us your name and address tonight to be eligible for one of 50 prizes: 2 AM/FM stereo phonos, 2 travel clock radios, and 46 anthologies of modern suspense. We've been most gratified by the program comments so far. So, if you have a chance to write, we hope you will. And let us know a bit about you, who you are, what you do, how old you are. But your name and address are enough. To Mystery Theater, Box 50, Radio City Station, New York, 10019. That's Box 50, Radio City Station, New York, 10019. Entries must be postmarked no later than tonight, the 26th. Offer good everywhere unless locally prohibited.
This is WOR New York, your station for the Mystery Theater.
An invitation. This is Peter Roberts. Join us Sunday morning, 8:15 to 10 here on WOR for Rambling with Roberts. 2 hours of music, especially selected for Sunday morning listening pleasure, along with, bits of weather information, news headlines, bits of trivia, such as the fact that a man from Onowa, Iowa, received a patent for what he called Eskimo pie, which was ice cream coated with chocolate. It all happened in 1922. It may not seem like very much in the way of history, but it does take place, these little bits of trivia and information, on Rambling with Roberts. So, of a Sunday morning, make a note. 8:15 to 10, right here at 710 on your dial, come Rambling with Roberts. You don't have to give us an RSVP. Just be on hand. Thank you.
It's now 1 year later. Sad to say, Mark Kramer is still wearing prison gray. As for Professor Kitteridge, he's had problems too. A bad case of the gout caused cancellation of his European lecture tour. Even more disappointing, his daughter Lorna lost interest in working on her thesis and abandoned the idea of obtaining her doctorate. In fact, Lorna Kitteridge seems to have lost interest in life itself.
Lorna, you awake?
Yes, Daddy. I'm up.
Darling, it's almost noon. It's not like you to be in bed so late.
I just didn't feel like getting up.
Did you sleep badly again last night?
Last night, the night before that.
Oh, Lorna. If you don't see Dr. Isaacs voluntarily, I may have to drag you to his office.
You know there's nothing wrong with me.
What's all this paper for? All those little crumpled balls.
Can't you guess?
Oh, Lorna, no. You haven't been writing Mark again?
I keep thinking that I might hit on exactly the right words. The magic formula that would make him answer one letter. Just one letter.
You know that's not possible, darling. Face it, the man is filled with bitterness. He blames you for something he did to himself.
Probably never reads any of the letters I send him. Probably sees my handwriting and tears them up immediately.
It would be so much better if you forgot him, Lorna.
Do you know that I even thought of sending him a disguise letter? Making it look like some important document that he would have to read? Isn't that ridiculous?
What's ridiculous is the way you've tortured yourself over that man for so many months.
Who's tortured who, Daddy? Which one of us is really guilty?
Oh, Kitty, Kitty.
Stop calling me that name. My name is Lorna. Can't you remember my name?
Darling, you're just not yourself.
Oh, is that why you can't remember me? Because I'm somebody else? Well, you may be right, Daddy. Every morning I look in the mirror and I can't recognize the woman I see.
Lorna, you're just not giving yourself a chance to forget. You'd start getting out into the world, start meeting new people. You become a hermit.
I thought you liked having me here, Daddy. I thought you couldn't live without my company.
I honestly believe you need medical attention. If not from Dr. Isaacs, then from somebody else.
You mean a psychiatrist, I suppose?
No, darling, no. Just someone who can help you get over this. distorted guilt that you feel.
The only one who can do that is Mark. And he won't see me or write me or anything.
Lorna.
Oh, please go away. Please. I'm going to try to sleep. It's the only time I'm happy. When I'm asleep.
All right. Step right over here, Kramer.
Anything you say, guard.
Remember, visiting time is limited to 15 minutes.
Look, I don't want the 15 minutes. They're being forced on me.
Sit down and behave yourself.
Yes, sir. Anything you say, sir.
Well, no, Mark.
Make it fast, Professor. I've got important matters to take care of back in the shop. I'm making a very special license plate.
Mark, I know you resent the fact that I've forced this encounter. Took some doing, believe me.
Uh-huh. Why did you go to all the trouble?
Because it's a matter of health. Lorna's health.
She's pining away for me, is that it? Well, tell her to stop, Professor. My nights are filled with sweet dreams, and she is in none of them. You tell her that for me.
I want you to see her, Mark.
Oh, I wouldn't force that issue, Professor. I don't have anything nice to say to your daughter.
You misunderstood Lorna. Couldn't expect you to applaud what she did in court. But if you really thought about the ideals that motivated her...
Whose ideals? Yours or hers?
Do I have to separate them?
Yes. But you can't, Professor. Because she's your monster. You've got her all twisted up between her ethics and her instincts. I suppose you're proud of the result, but it's a fake.
There's nothing fake about her principles.
She doesn't have principles. All she has is you. Her shining example. She wants you to love and admire her, so she does what you expect. That's why Daddy's little girl always tells the truth.
She does tell the truth. Always.
And her father?
I abominate lies.
You won't even lie to yourself. Then tell me this. Weren't you happy when Lorna and I broke up? Didn't it save your happy home?
I can see that coming here was a mistake.
You're a hypocrite, Professor. This whole thing was your doing, and I'll never let you forget it.
Goodbye, Mark.
Wait a minute. There's something you should know.
What's that?
I'm being paroled next week. Tell that to your daughter. Maybe it'll improve her health.
Of course I'm pleased, Harold. It's just that I'd much rather see a new book of mine published than a new edition of an old book.
Well, you can't argue with success. People never seem to tire of the 7 Secrets of Shakespeare.
I suppose I shouldn't complain. It does buy the groceries.
Just cash the royalty checks and be happy. Now, tell me how Lorna's doing. Feeling any better?
Oh, still a bit run down, I guess.
Well, that's too bad. I suppose you know that young man, Kramer, that he's out of prison.
For about 2 months now, I gather.
He, hasn't been in touch with Lorna?
No, and I don't think he will be.
Funny thing is, he's been in touch with us.
With you? What's that before?
Well, actually, it seems he went to Merritt Bob's first.
My first publishers?
Yes, talked to everyone who would talk to him. Then he approached members of my own staff. He even tried to get an appointment with me, but I put him off.
What do you suppose he wants? He's an embittered young man, you know.
And I spoke to George Merritt. He didn't know about Lorna and this fella Kramer. He thought Kramer was an article writer looking for biographical material. George said that he seemed to know an awful lot about you already.
I don't much like the idea of someone like that snooping into my life.
Why do you suppose he's doing it?
Hard to say. Rancor, I suppose. Hopes he can find something unpleasant in my past. I'll get it, Lorna. Hello?
Professor Kittredge?
Yes?
Mark Kramer, Professor.
Oh. Yes, I was just speaking about you the other day with my publisher.
I'd like to see you, Professor, this evening, if that's possible.
See me? Or Lorna?
No, just you. If Lorna wants to be there, that's her business. Something tells me she'd rather stay away.
Can you give me some idea of why you want to see me?
You might say it's a business matter.
Who is it, Daddy?
What time would be good for you, Professor?
Make it
About 9.
I'll make it exactly 9.
Daddy, you look so strange. Who was that on the phone?
It was Mark Kramer, Lorna.
Mark?
He's asked me to see him at 9 tonight. I have no idea what he wants to say, but whatever it is, I'm sure it won't be anything pleasant.
I'd rather not be here.
I didn't think you would. Mark blames me for what happened in court, not you. He refuses to admit that it was your own love of truth.
My love of truth. Daddy, you never understood me yourself. How could you explain me to someone else? I didn't love truth. I loved Mark.
You did what you had to do. What your conscience told you to do.
My conscience? Is that what I was satisfying? That small little voice inside me?
It can be a loud voice, darling. A very compelling
But
voice.
I still hear it. It's still talking to me. And you know what it's saying? You fool. You fool, you fool.
Lorna.
I think I'll go out now, Daddy. Right now.
Good evening, Professor.
Hello, Mark. Come in.
Thank you. Nice of you to see me. I wasn't sure of my reception after the last time. I see you're using a cane these days, Professor.
Yes, a touch of gout. Mark, I hope you weren't expecting to see Lorna. She's not here.
No, I didn't expect to see her.
Would you care to come to the point of this visit?
Yes, Professor. I'll come to the point. I've come to see you about truth.
Oh, must we, Mark? Really? I mean, these philosophical discussions are meat and drink to old campus fogies like me, but I'm rather tired of the subject right now, very tired of it.
Frankly, I'm a little exhausted by it myself. I've just spent 2 months in search of it, and I didn't even know what I was looking for.
You've been digging up things about me, haven't you? I hope you enjoyed yourself.
No, I didn't. You see, I made the mistake of talking to your enemies. The publishers you dropped, the friends you no longer see, the scholars you had disputes with.
What did you get out of that?
Nothing. Your enemies didn't have the truth about you, Professor. Only your friends did. Like Avery Hayes.
Avery Hayes?
Oh, I'm glad to see you remember the name. Strange how few people do. Even though you dedicated your 4th, or was it your 5th book to him? George Merritt knew him, of course. Mr. Merritt called you Avery's benefactor. Said that Hayes was an alcoholic that you took care of for many years.
He was my friend.
Yes, he was a good friend, and you were good to him. That was one chapter of your past that you had every reason to be proud of, wasn't it?
Avery's been dead for 10 years. What did you want from him?
Nothing, Professor. I just thought a man like that deserved a little recognition, if only for his past association with you. So I talked to people who knew him, his old pals, his family. He still has a brother alive, you know, a crotchety old fellow in the terminal ward at the county hospital. His name's Ezra. Perfect name for the old boy. And you know what? He still has the junk Hayes left when he died. That pitiful collection of books and papers.
You don't expect me to believe that? About Avery's papers? Avery never kept anything, not a thing. He was a foolish, drunken old...
He was also brilliant, wasn't he? Went to the university on a scholarship. You only beat him out for top honors because of his drinking.
You're talking about 40 years
He
ago.
was drunk, and he was dishonest, too, wasn't he, Professor? That was how he sustained that wild life of his, by selling his scholastic services to anybody who could pay for them.
It's not different today.
Yes. That's what Avery said in his letter. The one he wrote to a woman named Jean. I didn't know who Jean was or why Avery never mailed the letter, but there it was. Avery said he was cleaning up $100, $200 a month and would surely be able to pay back all he owed before the end of the semester. And then he mentioned the thesis. The big job he was doing, that he expected $300 for that job alone. You know which thesis I mean, Professor?
Please go. Get out of here. I've had enough of this lying filth.
The 7 Secrets of Shakespeare. Sounds like a mystery story, doesn't it? But it was quite a piece of work. And it became more than just a college thesis. It became a world-famous book. It made your reputation, Professor.
You're a liar. A liar. You know nothing about it.
You paid Avery for his work and put your name on it. You might have done as well yourself, but you were young and lazy, and you had the money to pay for it. Then you discovered how good it really was, and it was too late for both of you to change the course of history.
Get out of this house now.
Get out! I'm going, Professor. I just wanted you to hear this little story about truth. And also to tell you that I have Avery Hayes' letter.
What did you say?
I have his letter, Professor. It tells the whole story. Good night.
Mark!
You told me to go, and I'm going.
You filthy animal! Up! Get rich! Kill you monster! I'll kill you! Kill you, you animal!
Daddy!
Kill you!
Daddy!
Like a wild beast!
Oh, my God! What have you done?
Lorna!
Daddy!
Lorna! Oh, thank heaven you're here.
Oh,
Thank heaven.
look at his head. Oh, dear Lord.
You saw what happened.
Oh.
What the crazy fool did, he attacked me.
You killed him with your cane.
He attacked me, Lorna. You know how much he hated me? I had to defend myself.
No, I saw what happened. I saw you strike him from behind.
No, Kitty, no. He tried to kill me. That's why I hit him.
Daddy, I saw everything. You killed Mark. You did it deliberately, and that's the truth. You always taught me to tell the truth. It's the only important thing. The truth.
Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. said, "All I mean by truth is the road I can't help traveling." Well, Professor Kitteridge traveled his road, and despite his good intentions, it turned out to be the road to hell. I'll be back shortly.
Hello, this is Joe Franklin. Ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, for the very latest in nostalgia, for the ultimate in remembering, please join with me on Saturday nights from 9:05 to 11 o'clock, where memories are truly happening right here over WOR Radio. It is my privilege to present radio's original Memory Lane program, but positively the original. And whether it's Al Jolson or Benny Goodman or Louis Armstrong or Eddie Cantor or Harry James or the Dorseys, Mario Lanza, Gene Krupa, the young Frank Sinatra, George M. Cohan, Bing Crosby, Bogart, Lombard, Cagney, and all those happy times of radio's comedy and drama and soap opera. We have it fascinatingly, and all the sounds are reproduced crystal clear Saturday nights from 9:05 till 11 over WOR Radio. Yours truly, Joe Franklin, hosting Memory Lane. Tune in.
If there is a moral to the story you've just heard, it's not that truth is so bad. But Samuel Butler said, truth should not be absolutely lost sight of, but it should not be talked about. And we promise that's our last word on the subject. Our cast included Agnes Moorehead, Mandel Kramer, Sandus Ortega, Ian Martin, and Dan Ocko. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
I swear to Sam Hill, Ethan, you deliver.
After the 12th stroke of the hourglass clock's chime, there was no sound but the beat of the clock and my own heart. Everything else had stopped. My friend's mouth was frozen in the act of speaking. His hand poised over a chessman as though cast in bronze. Outside, like the old child's game, people had turned to statues. A car backing into a parking space was stopped in its tracks. For everyone else in the world, save only me and that damnable clock, time was standing still.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
WOR Mystery Theater was brought to you by ShopRite Supermarkets, where you get a lot more for a little less, and by Suburban Savings, with offices throughout North Jersey. The preceding Mystery Theater program was furnished by the CBS Radio Network. The late news is next at 9, followed by Joe Franklin and Memory Lane here on WOR New York, an RKO General station. Good evening, news at 9 from the WOR newsroom. This is Bill Maher reporting. The fast-paced Secretary of State is in New York for the weekend. He'll be meeting tomorrow with UN Secretary General Kurt Waldheim to fill him in on the diplomatic goings-on that brought about a settlement between Israel and Egypt. Just what the Secretary's plans for today and this evening are, nobody's saying. One of the Secretary's favorite companions, Nancy McGinnis, lives in New York, but all aides will say about Kissinger's plans is he has personal business. President Nixon can be impeached for abuses of political power, even though he may not have violated criminal law. This, according to a study just released by the New York Bar Association. The U.S. Constitution says the president can be impeached for, quote, high crimes and misdemeanors. According to the Bar Association's report, this phrase comes from English law and refers to acts which undermine the integrity of the government, as well as purely criminal acts. Among those activities designated by the report as impeachable were corruption or flagrant abuse of power, acts which undermine the public trust, and acts performed by presidential appointees that constitute high crimes and misdemeanors if unchecked by the president. The upcoming trial of two former cabinet members has prompted the Senate Watergate Committee to postpone its public hearing scheduled to begin Tuesday. Committee Chairman Sam Ervin says the panel is putting off the hearings to avoid possibly prejudicing the trial of former Attorney General John Mitchell and former Commerce Secretary Maurice Stans. No new date for the hearing has been set. A spokesman for the Capitol Hill leadership has said the Democrats in Congress will cooperate with President Nixon in meeting the energy crisis. But, said California Democrat John McFaul, the White House must reciprocate. McFaul spoke on national radio in response to President Nixon's energy address last week. The congressman said the first positive step the administration could take is to withdraw its opposition to a provision of the Emergency Energy Act attacking excessive oil company profits. The captain of that Bulgarian fishing vessel seized off the New Jersey shore today for allegedly fishing within the 12-mile U.S. coastal limit has denied his trawler trespassed. The captain, Peter Todorov-Donchev, said in New York, where he was brought by the Coast Guard, that his vessel was 13.5 miles out to sea when his ship was overtaken by the Coast Guard cutter Unimak. Turkish officials still are seeking an explanation for a jetliner crash which claimed the lives of at least 62 persons this morning. The plane went down shortly after takeoff from Izmir, causing what authorities call the worst air disaster in Turkey's history. The U.S. Embassy in Ankara says two of those killed were identified as New Jersey residents, Dr. and Mrs. Horace Gerard of 41 Knox Road in Tenafly. Well, 51% of the population is female, and Governor Brendan Byrne isn't taking chances with their votes. The New Jersey governor has spoken before the state's first meeting of female public servants, and he promised to give serious consideration to the problems facing women. Byrne asked the group assembled in Princeton for help in recruiting qualified women for jobs in state government. The governor said he has tried to appoint a woman as state education commissioner, but said he received virtually no applications from females. The weather for New York City and vicinity, mild with occasional rain tonight and again tomorrow. Low tonight in the low 40s, high Sunday in the mid-50s, mostly cloudy Sunday night and Monday with a chance of showers Sunday night, and the low Sunday night in the low 40s. At the moment in cloudy Midtown Manhattan with some very light rain falling, the temperature at 44 degrees, humidity 86%, wind southeast at 4 miles per hour, the barometer 30.21 and falling. That's the news at 9. Bill Maher in the WOR newsroom.
Your AMC dealers got the all-new mid-size car that economizes on everything but comfort. That car, the roomy 74 Matador. And another important advantage. Our 74 Matador comes with an economical 6-cylinder engine as standard equipment. And consider this. Matador is the only new mid-size car backed by all the benefits of the exclusive AMC Buyer Protection Plan. Which means that under normal usage and accepting tires, if anything AMC did goes wrong with your new 74 Matador, in the first 12 months or 12,000 miles, we'll fix or replace it free. Come in today. Meet the unbeatable combination. 74 Matador backed by the AMC Buyer Protection Plan.
See your AMC dealer where you get a good deal and a good deal more. And stay tuned for Joe Franklin's Memory Lane next on WOR New York and RKO General Station.